Part 15. Canon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 142. At this moment, Lu Xiaoguan was pointed at and scolded by Bai Rong, and he felt very unhappy. In the past, because he had controlled Bai He, the Wang family and his wife had coaxed and praised him. How could they dare to scold him like this? He was fierce, he felt a little uncomfortable, and hated Lily for telling the truth so quickly. Seeing Bai Rong's face turn green with anger, Wang Zheng also looked very unhappy, and couldn't help but feel a little panicked and a little angry. Hurriedly said, "Zia, he is talking nonsense. Auntie, you also know how willful she is." Hearing that Lu Xiaoguan was confusing right and wrong and deliberately saying such shameless words, Lily's mouth twitched. Just seeing Bai Rong's face turned green with anger, she smoothed over her and couldn't bear to tell the whole story to stimulate her. Bai Rong's health should not be well now, but she didn't notice it herself. She just thought it was some minor problem. Bai Rong was going to persuade her to go to the hospital for a checkup first. It was true that Bai Rong's condition in the plot was death has always been a scar in the heart of the original owner, and every time she thinks about it, she loses her life. In this mission, it is naturally best for her to save Bai Rong's life and let her live for a while. If it is not possible, she can stay by her bedside, it's okay to watch her die. You are the one talking nonsense. I am talking to my parents. Why do you want to talk more? Do you really regard you as one of your own? He is already married to himself and has a lot of demands for his own wife, Lu Xiaoguan. Lily, he was unhappy for a long time without calling Mother Lu to be his mother, but when facing Bai Rong, he spoke of her as an aunt and uncle. His expression was as arrogant as any other, as if the Wang family owed him something. Such a man also, I don't know how the original owner fell in love with him, but Lily is becoming more and more displeased with him now. Because of this, he became even more rude. You still call me mom and aunt after you get married. If you don't want to get married, just get divorced. The Wang family and his wife were extremely surprised when she heard what she said. Lu Xiaoguan was so angry that he clenched his hands into fists and placed them firmly by his side. Veins like earthworms sprouted on the back of his hands. His fair face turned red, and the blood vessels in his temples bulged. His eyes staring at Lily coldly. He naturally knew that after getting married, he would call Wang Zheng and Bai Rong his parents, but he didn't want to, so just saying it out loud would make his words parents worthless. He also wanted to wait until Wang Zheng and his wife gave him more benefits before he would shout out again. Teaching people is like a talent passed down from Lu Xiaoguan's mother. He instinctively has his own way. This can be seen from his previous dealings with Lily Wang. He can hold this girl firmly in the palm of his hand. In her heart, in addition to Wang Beihe's own stupidity and love-first mentality, there is also the reason why Lu Xiaoguan is playing tricks on her many times. Originally, Lu Xiaoguan wanted to make Wang Zheng and his wife be like Lily, knowing that they would get benefits only after doing things for themselves. From then on, they would form a habitual thinking, so that they would instinctively know that it was good for them. Only in this way can Lu Xiaoguan achieve his goal. Unexpectedly, his narrow-mindedness was exposed by Lily at this moment. Lu Xiaoguan was a little flustered for a moment. But he quickly calmed down, showed an apologetic smile to Bai Rong and the other two, and knelt down to them, bowing his head readily and admitting, "I'm sorry, parents, I only noticed it thanks to Xiao He reminding me." His words are very thought-provoking. Compared with him, Lily just talked about Lu Xiaoguan's mother, which inevitably seemed a little disrespectful. What's more, his apology showed the cheerful side of his character. Wang Zhenglian, there was already a look of dismay on his face, and he raised his hands. "It's better to say it than to sing it, but if it had been your mother, I'd probably have slapped you twice," Lily sneered. Wang Zheng thought about the scene where his daughter said she was almost beaten by her mother-in-law, and her face looked a little ugly. "Xiao Lu, you also know that our two families have somewhat different opinions. Zia, he is still young, so you are urging us to get married. If it is really not suitable, wait for 2 years. Don't beat my daughter. I have never laid a finger on her since I was a child. Although I should scold my daughter if you two have any differences, I will not do so if anyone hits her. When Lu Xiaoguan heard this, he secretly scolded Wang Zheng, an old man, for saying that the two families had different opinions, but in fact he was despising the poverty of his family. Although he was gritting his teeth with hatred, there was a look of understanding on his face, but the look at Lily became colder. I know, Dad, I'll go upstairs and pack my clothes first, and let Lily talk to you too. If it weren't for the fact that Lily had been so cold to him like crazy this time, Lu Xiaoguan would have gone to bed by himself after he came back. Upstairs, it was rare to say hello at this moment. Wang Zheng waved his hand, and he endured his anger and went upstairs. This townhouse has 3 floors in total. Wu Ma and another nanny live on the first floor, Wang Zheng and his wife live on the second floor, and Lily and Lu Xiaoguan live on the third floor. As soon as Lu Xiaoguan's footsteps passed by, Bai Rong's face became stern. What's going on? Mom, you should finish your physical examination before talking. Bai Rong was about to say something, but Lily had already rested her head on her shoulder. Mom, I was wrong, I should have listened to you, but now I realize that I don't understand. Mr. Lu is shocked, he doesn't defend me at all in front of his family. If I hadn't lost my temper this time, I'm afraid his mother would have asked me to serve his whole family. Wang Zheng was silent for a long time, and then sighed. Marriage is not a trivial matter. You should first see if it is suitable for you. If it is really not suitable, then we should separate earlier. I think Xiao Lu. Wang Zheng used to. She didn't dare to speak ill of Lu Xiaoguan because she was afraid that her precious daughter would fall out with him. Now that Lily had figured it out, she still couldn't help but shake her head when she thought of Lu Xiaoguan. That night, Lu Xiaoguan excused himself from work and went to the study all night and didn't come back. He probably thought he was asking him to. Lily sneered and didn't say hello to him. She just packed up and took Bai Rong to the hospital. Bai Rong didn't want to go at first, but her daughter insisted on persisting. She thought it would be rare for her daughter to grow up and be sensible enough to care about her, so she reluctantly agreed. Anyway, it was just a physical examination. She was a surgeon in the cardiology department of the hospital and was working in her own department. Even physical examinations at the hospital are free of charge, which is a benefit of her current position. After a series of procedures including taking X-rays and blood tests were completed, Bai Rong thought she would be fine, but unexpectedly she found out there was a tumor in her brain. The tumor is not big now, and since no pathological analysis has been done on the cause, I don't know whether it is malignant or benign. It's just that having this thing in the brain is not a good thing. Fortunately, it was detected early, otherwise it would have been a year later. Over time, even benign things can easily turn into malignant things. This news almost made Wang Zheng and his wife break out in a cold sweat. Bai He also breathed a sigh of relief. The operation time was set in half a month, during which time she would do tests and other tests. She could detect this thing early. Bai Rong. The hope of living a longer life was longer. Although it was not a good thing to detect the tumor, the family thought that it would be better to detect it earlier and be cured than to find it worse later, so they were quite happy. At this time, Lu Xiaoguan at home was originally waiting for Lily to get up and find him to act coquettishly and apologize. Unexpectedly, he found that the house was empty and no one even asked him to come over for breakfast. He went downstairs angrily and asked Wu Ma. Knowing that the family had gone to the hospital, he was furious, but his face was cold and he went back to the room without even eating breakfast. When Lily returned home, he broke into the room while Lily was changing clothes. "What are you doing?" "Fortunately, the clothes inside have been changed, only a suit jacket is needed. The floor heating is turned on at home." In fact, only one piece is enough, but when he saw Lu Xiaoguan Lily, he felt that he was underdressed. But his eyes just glanced at her. The two were still young. His expression did change, but when he mentioned what happened in the morning, his eyes turned cold again. Zia, the family doesn't regard me as one of their own now, really? Why didn't you tell me when you went out in the morning? Lily pulled her collar and laughed. Why do I have to tell you? You don't have ears and you can't hear it yourself? I was telling my mother yesterday about entering the hospital, but you didn't take the initiative to say that you wanted to go with me. Forget it about my mother, why are you talking to me now? Zia, you have changed. Lu Xiaoguan was originally going to ask her, and wanted to ask Lily to move out, but now he was blocked by Lily and was extremely flustered. Weren't we good before? He was fine in the past because Lily Wang was completely obedient to him, both in mind and action. Now, once Lily refused to cooperate with him, he began to feel that something was wrong, but he never thought that he had treated Wang like this before. Lily, the situation is just the other way around. He's tired after only a few days? Is there anything else? Lily couldn't help but want to laugh when she heard him talk about the past. The two of them were really good friends in the past. If the Lu family hadn't been so shameless and Lu Xiaoguan hadn't been so ambitious, maybe there wouldn't be such a thing like this. The mission was over, but he had not mentioned it before everything happened at this time, and he was not Lily Wang himself, so he only felt a little funny when he heard this. Lu Xiaoguan's expression changed, as if he was suppressing something, and he said coldly, "Let's buy a house and move out." Hearing this and looking at Lu Xiaoguan's strong expression, Lily almost couldn't hold back her laughter. Having been with Lu Xiaoguan for many years, no one knows Lu Xiaoguan's real situation better than Wang Beihe. It is most appropriate to describe him as penniless. If Wang Beihe hadn't paid for his living expenses and tuition fees, I'm afraid he would still be there now. A whole body of blood debt, where is the penny? He has only been working for half a year now, so even if he has money, he still pays homage to the Lu family. In order to earn more face with the Lu family, he often sends money back to the Lu family, and eats and drinks all at the Wang family. Now he proposed to buy a house. Either Beihe laughed at him, or Lu Xiaoguan couldn't buy a toilet in the imperial capital even after selling both of his kidneys. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 143. Every inch of land in this place is precious, and Lily knows very well what kind of situation the Lu family is in. Even if she collects all the money she defrauded from the original owner, she might not even be able to buy it with even 10% of the down payment. It will be interesting to think about buying a house now. Lily sneered in her heart, thinking of the scene in the plot where Lu Xiaoguan couldn't help but flirt with Lily Wang all day long, and in the end Lily Wang begged him to buy a house and move out. Thinking of the scene where Mother Lu shamelessly acted like a loving mother in front of the original owner, at this moment, her heart moved, and she nodded in agreement. That's okay, buy a house. She agreed very readily. Lu Xiaoguan's eyes couldn't help but light up, and a rare smile appeared on his face. He seemed to be very satisfied with Lily's cheerful attitude. Just as he was about to speak, Lily had already asked, "How much can your family afford, money?" When Lu Xiaoguan heard this question, his face suddenly turned ugly. "Zia, I thought you were different from other women. You can't talk about money when you open and shut your mouth. Now you've disappointed me so much. I also thought that you were different from other men before, but I didn't expect that you were a freeloader. How come Lu Xiaoguan, who couldn't afford a wife, now wants me to even buy a house? Why don't you just become a wife? Come home, you don't have to worry about buying a house now." Lily stood up immediately, tossed her hair, ignored the livid Lu Xiaoguan, and went downstairs with a gloomy face. Lu Xiaoguan was left alone and was so angry that he clenched and loosened his fists, and then tightened them again. At this moment, he felt anger and frustration that he had never experienced before. He had had enough of the life in the Wang family, although the Wang family house was not small. It was enough for the couple to live in. But Wang Zheng and Bai Rong were not enthusiastic about him. In this home, he felt that he could not be the head of the family, so he wanted to buy a house and move out. Lu Xiaoguan himself studied real estate and knew that house prices might rise again in the next few years. If he could have his own house in the imperial capital, real estate, in the future, even if he doesn't work, it will be enough to increase his net worth 100 times. But now his excellent idea hit a wall with Lily. He was extremely resentful and stopped trying to please Lily in front of Wang Zheng and Wang Zheng. On the contrary, he was very indifferent to her, and officially moved his quilt, clothes, and other belongings to the study room, hoping to force Lily to bow her head, but unexpectedly, he did such a move before it was too late for Lily to be really happy. When he returned to the room, only the original owner, the silly girl, cared about Lu Xiaoguan, so she was very nervous about his indifference. Now it was best for Lily to just go to hell and not bother her. At this time, Lily had no time to deal with the Lu family. She had to wait until Bai Rong's surgery was completed. Lu Xiaoguan would move out on his own at the moment. Just saved her the trouble. For several days in a row, Lily had no intention of talking to Lu Xiaoguan. Lu Xiaoguan was furious and thought that Lily was trying to stir up trouble. He began to think that what he had done was not enough, so he simply packed up his things and moved out. At the Wang family, it happened that Bai Rong was about to be hospitalized at this time, and Bai Rong couldn't care less about him when he left. Half a month later, the tumor in Bai Rong's brain was successfully removed, and the test confirmed that it was benign. Before things got worse, the family of three breathed a sigh of relief, and Lily discovered Lu Xiaoguan's disappearance. In my memory, Lu Xiaoguan often used this trick to threaten people. When he was in college, he carried the photographic equipment that Lily Wang bought for him on his back. As soon as the holidays came, he would run around and find no one, making Lily Wang desperately looking for him. Every time crying and begging him to calm down, Lily asked someone to come and change the keys to the house without saying a word. After Bai Rong was discharged from the hospital, Lu Xiaoguan was probably still waiting for him to bow his head and apologize, so he never called. He probably didn't know that the keys to the Wang family had been changed. On the day of discharge, Bai Rong didn't see Lu Xiaoguan coming to pick her up, and she was very dissatisfied. "What's going on with Xiao Lu? He has disappeared for so many days. Xiao He, has he bullied you?" Bai He nodded and told Lu Xiaoguan that he wanted to buy a house and forced herself to ask for it. Bai He Rong had no hidden health problems after the operation, and Lily was not afraid to hide it from her. "Dad, Mom, it's all my fault for being so sexual in the past." These words made Wang Zheng couldn't help but nod, and the two couples glanced at each other. "Actually, I have also thought about it. When you grow up, it is not an option to live with your parents all the time. Your parents still have some money in their hands, and your father also has some money these days. I was told to buy you a house. You can see what you like. You can choose and buy it first." Bai Rong had already thought about this for her daughter, but she was always worried that she would be stupid. She can't beat Lu Xiaoguan, but now she has matured a lot, thinking that this time it was thanks to her daughter's sensibility that she allowed herself to have a physical examination, otherwise the tumor in her brain would not have been found, and she felt even more grateful to her daughter. In the past, the price of houses in the imperial capital would increase, and buying it now would definitely not make a loss. Lily thought of what Mother Lu had done, and a thought came to her mind. "Okay, let's go see it in 2 days. Write Mom's name, so that Lu Xiaoguan won't worry about it." This time she didn't choose the house that Lu Xiaoguan liked in the plot. Instead, she chose a house in an area where the price rose sharply later, a garden house. She chose Lu Xiaoguan. After the couple paid the full payment, exactly 1 month later, Lu Xiaoguan couldn't hold himself back and called her. When he found out that Lily had bought the house and wrote her mother's name, He almost spat out blood. Not wanting to be angry anymore, he packed up his things and came back in a panic. He didn't live in the Wang family. The hotel he stayed in temporarily was Lu Shaoguan's character. Although his life was a little more relaxed now, he was still a little family at heart. He stayed in a hotel with not very good conditions. It was the same as the Wang family's well-decorated room. There is absolutely no comparison. He looked haggard and embarrassed at the moment. When he saw Lily, he couldn't help but shouted, "Are you crazy? I didn't even look. Why did you make up your mind? I'm buying a house and I want you to come and see it? Are you crazy? You didn't get any money." Lu Shaoguan gambled back again with one sentence. When Lu Shaoguan was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing and he couldn't speak, Lily then she felt relieved. She was just preparing to choose materials for the decoration of her new house. Now that the key to Wang's house had been changed, he couldn't get in, so she happened to bet Lily at the door and didn't want to argue with him at the door. At this moment, after finishing speaking, Lily was about to take out the key and open the door when Lu Shaoguan took a deep breath and said in a dark voice, "Wang Beihe, you can't survive this day? If you can't, get divorced. Your family doesn't care about me at all. I won't even mention changing the keys when I go out, and you won't discuss big things like buying a house with me. What on earth do you think? What did I take for you?" Lu Shaoguan was speaking forcefully at the moment, but if he really said he wanted a divorce, he would probably not be happy with it. If he had said this when he was successful and famous, there might still be some truth to it. As for now, he has nothing, his sleeves are clear and his hands are empty. 4 pockets are equally heavy, and when he is too poor to find a wife, or even a girlfriend, he will be willing to give up this marriage. Lily writes her name upside down. Lily ignored him at all, and Lu Shaoguan became angry and said, "I have already said that I want a divorce, Lily Wang, can't you hear me because you are deaf? Whatever you want, don't take yourself too seriously, and don't take others too seriously." Lily gave him a disgusted look, walked directly in front of Lu Shaoguan and locked the door. I was blocked from the door and could no longer hear the sound. As expected, Lu Shaoguan shouted fiercely, but later he still begged for peace in a low voice. He stopped the couple Wang Zheng and Bai Rong who were returning home, begged and apologized, and finally even knelt down. After using it, he thought that his daughter was married now. Even if she was going to get divorced in the end, she couldn't be so impulsive, so she let him into the house again. From then on, Lu Shaoguan's arrogance seemed to have been officially dispelled. He saw she became much quieter when she got up, and she no longer looked as arrogant to Wang Zheng and his wife as before. When the new house was decorated half a year later and had been drying for a while, Lily packed her things and moved in with Lu Shaoguan. Mother Lu had just moved into her new home, and it was as if she had received the news. Lily had just moved into her new home, so she just carried a basket of eggs and came directly to the imperial capital. She didn't come when Lu Shaoguan and Bai He got married. She was probably afraid that Wang Zheng and Wang Zheng would look down on her, so she didn't show up even when her son got married. She just asked Bai He and Bai He to go back and do it one more time. To be honest, not only did this cost more money, but it was also very disrespectful to Lily Wang. Unfortunately, the original owner was too weak to notice this at all. Even if she noticed it, she probably didn't take it to heart. After being coaxed by Mother Lu with a few words, she lost her temper. It was the time when Lu Lian and Lu Lu were on holiday together, so the 2 brothers and sisters also came over. People in the village did not have air conditioners in their homes. They did not call Lily when they came over, but called Lily in advance. Lu Shaoguan made the call. When Lily came home from work, she found that the floor at home had been trampled in a mess. When she returned to her room was wide open and Lu Lian was sitting in it, looking through her makeup. Lily's heart suddenly burst into flames. When she came up, Her closet had been rummaged around. Mother Lu was sitting downstairs watching TV. When she came in, she glanced at Lulian, pointed at the door and said, "Go out." Lulian glanced at Lily and sat still, twisting her lipstick and applying it on her eye. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Juan ERWR. Chapter 144. Mother Lu downstairs suddenly stood up, looked upstairs with a sullen face, pursed her lips and cursed, "Get down, what the hell, you little bitch who was struck by lightning." Mother Lu did not name anyone. She was named Deo, but everyone knew who she was scolding. In the kitchen, Lu Xiaoguan washed the fruits Lily bought in the refrigerator and came out to greet his mother and siblings. When he heard Mother Lu's words, before he could speak, Lily was already standing upstairs from the second floor. He looked down at the railing of the building. "Lu Xiaoguan, who asked you to take out the fruits I bought?" After hearing her words, Lu Xiaoguan stiffened and said impatiently, "Wang Beihe, this is my mother too, can you respect her a little? Stop being so fussy, look at your face now, it's really ugly." "I think your face is really ugly." Lily didn't save Lu Xiaoguan's face and said directly, "You use the fruits I bought to greet people. Are you rich? Besides, who asked them to come? Call me. Have you told me, do you really think this house is yours?" When it came to buying a house, Mother Lu became very angry. Her thoughts were similar to those of her son. "Wang Beihe, what do you mean? You don't discuss such a big thing as buying a house with others. What do you think, is there still a man like yours here? If a woman like this were from the countryside, she would have been beaten up and gone back to her parents' home. If Lu Xiaoguan has money to buy a house, let's discuss it naturally. He doesn't have a few dollars on his body and still wants to decide on my house. There's no way." Lily glanced at Lu Xiaoguan with contempt, and saw that his face turned red. Angry and resentful, he continued, "My parents paid for the house, so of course I can buy it wherever I like. You are from the Lu family. You have already married into the Lu family. How can one family speak the same language?" Mother Lu was so angry that she was trembling all over. Pointing at Beihe, he said, "You are a Xiaoguan person, so your money is naturally his money. Why should you still share it?" At this time, Lu Xiaoguan had no money. Of course Mother Lu said this. If Lu Xiaoguan was richer than the Wang family, I'm afraid she would have a better relationship than anyone else. Now that I have bought my own house, I am too lazy to talk to Mother Lu about these useless things, so I just said directly, "We have bought a house now, why don't you say hello before you come? There is no room for anyone in the house now. You are here, let's stay at the hotel outside." Hearing that Beihe was going to drive away her mother and son, Mother Lu's face suddenly turned dark. Why can't I live in my own son's home? There was absolutely no way she would leave again. This time she was going to her hometown. The house has been taken care of, and God is ready to come to join his son and enjoy happiness in the future. You can make arrangements and find a school for Lian Lian and Ziajun. We will all live here in the future. Xiaoguan, how is your eldest sister's life now? It's hard, the child is not young anymore. He has to go to school. I've seen the kindergarten here. They are pretty good, only 2,700 a month. You and Lily Wang are both working, taking care of your elder sister's burden. She will be grateful to you. I think your house is very big, it is more than enough for the few of us, plus your eldest sister's family. The children are not particular, so we can live alone in a shed on the balcony. She has arranged it well. Now she is not the only one who wants to live here. Now she actually wants to drag her son and daughter to live together. The arrangement just made by Lu's mother is exactly what Lily Wang's life was like in the plot. Not only does she want to live with the Lu family, the whole family was crowded together, and there was no room for her to stay in his own house. In the end, she was bullied and suffered from depression, and almost committed suicide by jumping off the building several times. If Mother Lu now feels that she is easy to bully, then she would be really sorry. Lily curled her lips and looked at Lu Shaoguan's excited face, as if he wanted to agree. Before he could see how much he weighed, this man was thinking about settling down his family, but he never thought that he was just a temporary stay. In his own home, this time he was not as stupid as in the plot. He was given half of the house for no reason. He was just a passerby here and wanted to protect his family's status. I'm afraid Lu Shaoguan thought too well. I'm sorry, you guys can't live in it, and Lu Mins can't live in it either. As soon as Lily said this, Mother Lu stretched out her big hand like a cattail leaf fan to slap her, while cursing in her mouth. Little slut, whore who sells her body, and other offensive words. Lily calmly picked up her mobile phone and dialed the number of the property management. Who asked you to let people in? Lu Shaoguan brought them in? Does this house have his name? He is nothing. If something like this happens again, I will complain directly to your manager. The voice of the property manager came from the phone. Most of the people who lived here were either rich or noble, and the property manager couldn't afford to offend her. Within a few minutes, 2 security guards came over and knocked on the door. Mother Lu was now she had been covered for a long time. She had never seen much of the world and could not tell the difference between a security guard and a police officer. She was instinctively afraid of people wearing police uniforms. Now she was trembling and staring at Lily. She was already gone. The tough guy before just looked at Lu Shaoguan like he was pleading. Wang Beihe, don't go too far. Lu Shaoguan, whether in front of the property or in front of his family, had already been disgraced. He stared at Lily with a livid face. Do you still want to have you lived this life? She keeps saying things like this now. It's still early, and her revenge is still to come. If Lu Shaoguan can't bear it now, what should he do in the future? Beihe ignored Lu Shaoguan's threats and directly had Mother Lu and the others taken out. Lu Shaoguan had a cold war with Lily again, but it didn't work at all. He kept fighting for 2 days and Lily even told the property manager not to let him in. In the end, he had no choice. Lu's mother had sold the house in his hometown a long time ago. He would definitely go back this time. Not only was it embarrassing, but he also had no place to live, so Lu Shaoguan had to rent a house for his family to stay temporarily. When he first started working, his monthly salary was only 3,000 yuan. This was for Wang Zheng's sake. His son specially gave him a lot of accommodation, and the houses in the imperial capital were very expensive. Ever since she saw Lily's house, Lu's mother could no longer look down on ordinary houses, so Lu Shaoguan had to rent a slightly better one for her. The monthly rent for the house was nearly 3,000 yuan. Lu Shaoguan still used his credit card to pay 1 year's rent for Lu's mother, and then he settled the matter. It's just that Lu Shaoguan himself has been struggling since then. He hasn't had such a hard life for a long time since he met Lily Wang. At first, he was still a little uncomfortable, not used to eating, not used to taking the bus to work. He was talking to Lily during the Cold War, although he later went to Wang's house and begged Wang Zheng for help to let him into the house. At first he couldn't bring himself to talk to Lily, so when Lily was eating, he looked at the deliciously cooked rice and counted the things in his pocket. There was not much money left in the house, so he would sometimes use his credit card to eat out. As time went by, he used more and more credit cards, but the money was not enough, so he had no choice but to start buying instant noodles to satisfy his hunger. Since family matters have not been settled, Lu Shaoguan cannot put much effort into his work. He made a mistake at work and missed an opportunity for promotion. If it weren't for Wang Zheng's face, people might have fired him. After a long time, Lu Shaoguan couldn't hold it any longer. He had to kneel in front of Lily, put down his arrogant self-esteem, and lowered his head that had never been lowered before. Lily had other plans in mind, so she could forgive him on the surface. But after this incident, Lu Xiaoguan completely lost his status in front of Lily. He hated it in his heart, but he found that life without Lily's help was too uncomfortable. Without Lily's help, he was nothing, nothing. He had money to support his mother and younger siblings, but he didn't even have money to eat. He ate instant noodles every day until he felt like vomiting. He used to be picky about the meals prepared for employees in the company, but now he found that compared to instant noodles, it was delicious. Every time he devoured the food, Lu Xiaoguan felt resentment and inferiority in his heart. When he was no longer high-spirited, his self-esteem was trampled under his feet. He sometimes secretly ran to Mother Lu. Knowing that Lily didn't like Mother Lu, he didn't dare to mention his mother blatantly. Instead, he sneaked over occasionally. Lu's mother would sometimes ask him for money. Lu Xiaoguan's salary was not high at first. If there was no pressure in life, he would be happy to give money to his mother. But now he owes so much money, and Lily has been spending her own money with him. With no one to share the financial pressure for him, Lu Xiaoguan could no longer be a good son. Sometimes he began to complain against Mother Lu, especially after Mother Lu's arrival put him under countless pressures. But in Mother Lu's view, it was useless for her son to go to college. He couldn't earn much in a month, so he was reluctant to pay for it, which created a gap in her heart. It was almost before the Chinese New Year, and Lily remembered that in the memory of the original owner, this Chinese New Year was a rare bull market for the stock market. She did not have much money, but Wang Zheng and his wife still had millions. Most of the money they had saved throughout their lives was for daughter. The two of them still have jobs. Bai Rong is fine at the moment, and it's not yet time for them to become estranged from their only precious daughter, so when Bai He asked them to borrow money, Bai Rong didn't even ask. Then he gave her the money. After throwing all the money into the stock market, it only doubled again and again in half a month. On the 28th of the 12th lunar month, when Lu Xiaoguan tentatively said that he would invite his mother and younger siblings to his home for dinner, Lily thought of the special plan he had set up for Lu's mother. Condom, I readily agreed. Lu Xiaoguan was surprised and happy as he went to pick up his mother and younger siblings. When the TV was on, He deliberately took out his notebook. Seeing the details of the rise and fall of the stock market, Lu Lian sat over, not knowing how to pretend to understand. Sister-in-law is speculating in stocks. In fact, Lu Lian didn't know anything at all. She just saw such a thing on TV. Now because the stock market is booming, she just asked casually. Unexpectedly, as soon as she opened her mouth, Lily nodded, you also know. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 145. Lily's words cheered up Lu Lian. She imitated what was said on TV and said a lot. Lily knew her character from the plot, so she smiled and responded. Then Lu Lian sat down at the table. He used his hands to dig out the dirt between his teeth and said, you can't learn these messy things. It's useless to learn them. What's useless? This is for making money. What does your son eat and drink for free now? He still has to pay for driving. Do you think you just picked up the gas fee for a month? Lily blocked her. Lu Xiaoguan said at the beginning he coaxed Lily Wang to buy him a car in the name of going to work, but a few months ago when he and Lily were having a cold war, he had no money to drive and just took the bus every day. This time he apologized to Lily and admitted that he was wrong, and Lily paid for his living expenses. After one pack, he squeezed out a few hundred yuan, and occasionally started driving. Being exposed in front of his relatives at this time, for the face-saving Lu Xiaoguan, it was simply more embarrassing than having him take off his clothes in front of the crowd, but he still endured it, even if this moment the sun was shaking so much that he could not bear it, but he still remained silent. Lily glanced at him and smiled slightly. What's more, I originally invested 3 million in the stock market, and now in just over a month, I already have more than 4 million and almost 6 million. She just wanted to set a trap for Mother Lu. Damn, Mother Lu defrauded her of nearly 100,000 yuan back then. In the plot, she was even more greedy and wanted more. Since Lily wants to avenge the original owner, she will naturally not let go easily and has caused great harm to the original owner. Mother Lu. 6 million, for someone like Mother Lu, $100,000 is already a piece of cake. In the past, she had not been able to save $20,000 in half her life. Later, she learned from Lily Wang in various ways over the past few years. She saved all the money she received in different names. But Mother Lu really didn't expect that Lily Wang's family background was richer than she imagined. She had been in town for several months. I also know how expensive the houses in the city are. Lily's house covers an area of nearly 300 square meters. This is a well-known wealthy community. She has secretly inquired about the total value. It would cost 7 to 8 million to buy it. With that much money, it is if you only buy it with a loan, the down payment will be at least 2 to 3 million. At that time, when she heard that millions, she thought it was already the end of the world. Mother Lu fantasized more than once that it would be great if this house belonged to the Lu family. She has never given up on living in this house again. If she is allowed to live in such a house until she dies, her life will not be in vain. But at this moment, she thought it was a sky-high figure, but Mother Lu discovered that Lily still had 6 million left. Mother Lu was dizzy for a moment, and her lips were trembling so much that she could not speak. What's wrong? Is 6 million a lot? In 2 months, there will be 10 million. Lily seemed to look at Mother Lu with contempt. At this time, Mother Lu did not dare to feel that she was being discriminated against. She was a little scared. He glanced at the laptop in Lily's hand. I don't understand how this square box can turn into so much money in the blink of an eye. It's so much money. She had never heard of this in her life. Mother Lu was trembling all over and glanced at her son. She was obviously a little suspicious and wanted the money. Is it the stock of that real estate company? Lu Xiaoguan himself also studied real estate. He was not afraid of him buying the stock this time. Indeed, what he bought was fair and above board. The stock market has risen well during this period. If he invested several million, he would get what he wanted. The more recycling, of course, the rise and fall of stocks in the plot also happened in the past few months. I am afraid no one knows about this except her. Even if they dig a hole for Lu Xiaoguan to jump, he will definitely jump. Come down. Of course, Lily nodded, pretending to be careless. I took nearly 4 million from my parents. Now if I give the money back to them, I still have 1 million left, which will be enough for me after a while. I'm going to quit my job after these days. It has been more than half a year, and Lily has not used such a tone to chat with Lu Xiaoguan about family matters. She doesn't know if she has been treated with cold words more in the past 6 months, but Lu Xiaoguan suddenly felt flattered. He glanced at Lily excitedly, but before he could speak, Mother Lu asked in confusion, more than 1 million? Are you kidding me? In that case, Ziahe, you see, I am also your mother. Give me 200,000. She is quite thick-skinned, and she is bold enough to ask for it. She actually wants 200,000 as soon as she comes. If Lily Wang was the same person before, she would be too embarrassed to know how to speak. Even if she is clearly unhappy in her heart, she may not be able to say no. Come, but Lily is not as easy to bully as the original owner. She just rolled her eyes after listening to Mother Lu's words, earn the money yourself, no one wants my money. After saying that, she closed the computer. I went upstairs directly with my notebook in my arms. Mother Lu was a little dissatisfied at first, but when she thought about it later, she was really moved. She originally thought the stocks were fake, but she was too greedy. When Lily Wang gave her nearly 100,000, she sold her hometown. I still have some savings from my house and the money my son gave me in the past. The total now is about 110,000 and nearly 120,000. If the stock speculation is true, I am afraid that if I flip it, I will have 300,000. At this moment, Mother Lu didn't care about arguing with Lily. She turned around and pestered her son to ask about stocks. When she got a definite answer, she asked her daughter Lu Lian, who seemed to understand very well just now. Lu Lian originally she didn't understand the stock thing either, but she saw some financial experts and famous big shots mentioning stocks, so she bit the bullet and blew the whistle with Mother Lu. Mother Lu unexpectedly didn't ask for anything that day. Instead of staying, he went back with a pair of children. The next day, she came to the door with money to ask her son to trade stocks for her. She was cautious. Mother Lu could trust her son, but she could never trust Lily. She was afraid that she would be compared when she really made money. Lily will ask her for it. She has saved all this money behind Lily Wang's back. In the future, she will want to find her reputation and ask Lily for money. Naturally, she cannot find out about this. After all, no one thinks it is too much money. So Lu's mother asked her son to help her trade stocks. Although Lu Xiaoguan also worked in real estate in the past, he had never speculated in stocks before. He also had his own petty ideas, so Mother Lu's suggestion was exactly what he wanted. After discussion, the mother and son found a lot of books on stock trading, read them, and bought them. After watching many videos from relevant parties, Lu Xiaoguan first spent 5,000 yuan to test the waters. Half a month later, the 5,000 yuan turned into 8,000 yuan. Although the money was not much, it was also because he did not invest a lot of money in the stock market. Seeing the money rising in their accounts, Lu Xiaoguan and Lu's mother were almost crazy with joy. Originally, Lu Xiaoguan was not such an unstable person, but first he met Lily Wang and no longer had to worry about money. Then Lily stopped caring about him and no longer gave him financial support. No matter how steady he was somewhat. I couldn't bear it any longer, so I focused entirely on stocks. When I invested in the stock market for the second time, I invested 20,000 yuan. The same 20,000 yuan suddenly turned into 50,000 yuan. Lu Xiaoguan almost went crazy. This feeling of sudden wealth was so good, and the money came in so fast. He and Lu's mother combined, he simply invested all the 50,000 yuan he won in the stock market. Before the Lantern Festival, 50,000 yuan suddenly increased to 90,000 yuan. Now Mother Lu no longer had any doubts. She couldn't help but sigh. I have lived my whole life, but I only hoped that there would be no pie in the sky. I didn't expect that there would be such a good thing about making money. Lu Xiaoguan believed deeply. At this time, he was obsessed with this game of getting rich and no longer cared about it. On the other hand, he no longer noticed the way Lily sometimes looked at him with a sneer, and he didn't care about work that much. It wasn't until the year later that the company boss couldn't bear it anymore and called Wang Zheng. Wang Zheng, at the suggestion of his daughter, asked Lu Xiaoguan to see the company's employees. After the boss left him alone, Lu Xiaoguan was fired. This was Lu Xiaoguan's first job, and it was also his starting point in the original plot. He was serious and down-to-earth in his work, and he had an ambition and drive that no one else had, so he initially thrived in this company until he became after becoming the vice president of a certain department, he was poached by a larger foreign-funded company, and his career has been smooth ever since. Now, Lu Xiaoguan gave up the first opportunity in his life because he was addicted to stock trading. When he saw Behe resigning because he won millions, his mind was filled with excitement and he simply decided to resign. Anyway, from the perspective of Mr. Lu, there is no place for me to stay here, I have my own place to stay. As long as he gets a few 100,000 more, as long as he saves enough 1 million, he will open a company by himself, and then he will be his own boss, and he will not have to work for others to look at his face. Lily watched with cold eyes as Lu Xiaoguan became more and more aggressive in stock trading. When the accumulated capital from the beginning reached more than 400,000, he invested all of it. When it turned into more than 500,000 again, the stock market was not far away from a crash. School is about to start, and it's not convenient for my mother to rent a house outside. I don't know if it's because of the recent profits from stock trading. Lu Xiaoguan straightened his waist and straightened his back when he spoke, and he didn't look like Lily. In the past, I always tolerated it, but this time when I spoke, there was a bit of an instructive tone in my voice. You clean up the house for them. What a beautiful idea, Lily interrupted his words without politeness and deliberately provoked him. If you have the ability, you can buy a house outside. Don't think about bringing your mother and siblings into my house. There's no way. Lu Xiaoguan's face turned gloomy all of a sudden. He had become rich recently. The stock made him a full 600,000 yuan. He was going to make another fortune and quit after saving 1 million. At this moment, Lily still dared to. Did she really think she was the one who had to fight with him? Thinking about the fact that the two of them have been dating for many years, although Wang Bei has always been extremely accommodating to him, Lu Xiaoguan always felt that sometimes he was so inferior in front of her that he could not lift his head. She seemed to know that when she was at her lowest, she had seen herself wearing old clothes. I ate the disgusting food in the cafeteria that no one could eat, and I also saw the scene when I was working part-time to earn tuition. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 146. The real stories Lu Xiaoguan told her when he was chasing Lily Wang to win her sympathy. Now after Lu Xiaoguan became rich, he began to feel very ashamed. He began to wonder if he really wanted to be with Lily Wang. Such a person, a snobbish woman. I didn't know why I was so blind that I fell in love with her. When he had no money, he had different views on Lily. Now that he had money, when he looked at Lily's attitude, he felt that he couldn't stand it. In the past, Lily Wang was clearly submissive to him at times, but Lu Xiaoguan thought now. He also felt that something was wrong. When he was in his hometown, Lily didn't treat his mother with respect. His sister just wanted to borrow Lily a mobile phone, but she was petty and refused, and instead wanted to beat him up. At this time, Lu Xiaoguan could no longer think of Lily's good things at all. He only had Lily's bad things left in his mind. Now that he heard Lily looking down on him, it would be fine if he had no money, so he could naturally hold back a breath, but he has made a fortune now. Why should Lily look down on him? If this is the case, there is no need for the two of them to be together. Although he is still reluctant to part with the Wang family's real estate and this house, Lu Xiaoguan firmly believes that as long as he continues to trade in stocks, he will be able to buy 10 villas in the future, not to mention one. He has confidence in himself, and he is born as for stock trading. He has not lost in the past 2 months. Thinking of this, Lu Xiaoguan no longer swallowed his anger like before. He stared at Lily coldly for a while. Do you still want to live this life? My mother must move in, otherwise I will really buy a house for her. Lily deliberately looked surprised, as if there was a bit of panic on her face. Her acting skills came into play at this time. This expression was in Lu Xiaoguan's eyes. It was as if Lily was really panicked and scared. Where did you get so much money? But even if you want to buy a house for your mother, it's impossible. I have property in my name and we are husband and wife. We can't buy a house. Unless you write your mother's name, you can't buy it. When Lily said this, Lu Xiaoguan seemed to be slightly stimulated and said, but your mother is so virtuous that she bought a house and put her name on it. From now on, you brothers can share it. Lu Xiaoguan had never thought about this problem before. Now he was reminded by Lily, and there was a dark look in his eyes. Thinking about it, it was indeed the same thing, but then he thought again, as a couple, Lily, although he has a house in his name, can't he just fake a divorce from her? As long as he deceives Lily to divorce her first, and then buys a house with his name on it, he can remarry her at any time if he wants to, if there are better choices outside. It doesn't matter if you don't want to remarry her, you can advance or retreat. If they remarry, the Wang family's property will still belong to them. All the initiative is still in your own hands. When Lu Xiaoguan thought of this, he couldn't help but become more determined in his decision to buy a house after divorcing Lily. He thought about it and squeezed out a smile on his face. Ziahe, you're right. To be honest, I can't believe my mother. You see, we have been married for a long time. Now both of us have a good financial foundation. No matter what, we have to do it for the sake of our future children. He spoke in such a brilliant way that Lily already knew in her mind what he was planning, and she even thought so herself, so she deliberately followed his topic with an anxious look on her face. Then what do you propose? Let's get divorced first. After the divorce, I will buy a house in the school district. It will be convenient for my children to study in the future. Then we can remarry. Wouldn't it be great? Lu Xiaoguan suppressed the excitement in his heart and expressed his idea. He could not guarantee that Lily would agree to his conditions, so he felt a little uneasy. He felt like a bird waiting for freedom in a cage, staring at Lily without blinking. Look. But Lu Xiaoguan knew that Lily Wang had liked him for many years. There was a kind of romance and persistence in this girl's nature. He was afraid that Lily liked him too much and was unwilling to divorce. Just when he was a little worried, as expected, Lily shook her head. I won't leave, Xiaoguan, I won't leave. Lily deliberately said these words, and she saw the undisguised look of disgust on Lu Xiaoguan's face. She couldn't help but sneer in her heart, but her face seemed to be more anxious. Tell me, what did I do wrong? Tell me, what did I do wrong? Come out and I will change it. It seemed like it was back to more than half a year ago, when Lily had not taken her back to her hometown for the wedding, and she looked at him with this look. Lu Xiaoguan felt a little satisfied and proud. He couldn't help but think of how he treated Lily when he brought Lily back to his hometown. After seeing that her hometown had no money, and now that she had just gotten rich, she seemed to be a different person and refused to divorce. Lu Xiaoguan became more and more determined not to let her take advantage of him. He wants to write the house in his name alone. After the house becomes his premarital property, he will make Lily kneel down in front of him and admit her mistake, and be willing to use the house in her name to earn money at this time. He was willing to remarry Lily only after giving the 2 million to him to start a company. He wanted Lily to taste the feeling of regaining what was lost. Maybe no one wanted him in Lily's eyes before. He wanted to show Lily that he was not indispensable to her. In the past, he was afraid that she would run away, so he anxiously wanted to marry her, but now Lu Xiaoguan wanted to tell Lily that it was he who wanted to run away, but she who wanted to marry him. Although he still covets the 2 million that he got from stock trading, Lu Xiaoguan firmly believes that he can earn more. What's more, letting go now is to get everything in the future. He understands the principle of playing long-term to attract big fish. Women are despicable. What you can't get is always the best. He wants Lily to kneel in front of him, take the initiative to hold the money and beg him for forgiveness. As if thinking of a better life in the future, Lu Xiaoguan couldn't help but smile. While he touched Lily's head, he said softly, Ziahe, why are you disobedient? I'm here for the sake of our future. The children made such a request. We have to think about the children and earn more for them, so that we don't wrong the children. It's just that I have been divorced for a while. I bought a house. Isn't it also for the children? After buying it, let's get married. Lily looked extremely sad. But my heart was already extremely happy. Someone like Lu Xiaoguan is so self-righteous. And think that he has plotted against other people's smart Alex. She has done so many missions, and this is the first time she has seen that her IQ was not very high, but now it seems that Lu Xiaoguan is not that high either. Maybe he was confused by his acting skills, maybe he took advantage of her. It was the convenience of the prophet in the plot, but no matter what, Lu Xiaoguan fell into her trap. Fighting back the nausea. As if she was reluctant to leave, Lily made a show of asking Lu Xiaoguan to consider it twice. She didn't know if it was because Lu Xiaoguan had been lying down in front of her for more than half a year. Now that Leng Hui has suddenly become rich, Lu Xiaoguan seems to have found himself. As if he had lost his self-esteem for a long time, he enjoyed the feeling of being begged by Lily. He was secretly proud that Lily looked down on him before, but now she still knelt in front of him and begged, but he would not forgive Lily so quickly. As expected, he was indispensable in Lily's heart, and he wanted to teach Lily a lesson she would never forget. Let her never dare to go against her wishes again. Therefore, Lu Xiaoguan became more and more determined to get a divorce. He knew that he would be despised by Wang Zheng and his wife after the divorce, but he still divorced the marriage despite Lily's persuasion. When she came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lily couldn't help but smile on her face. Lu Xiaoguan also had a happy look on his face. His eyes seemed to be blank as he looked towards Lily. Wang Zheng and Bai Rong glared at the Lu family. Mother Lu raised her head in front of Wang Zheng and his wife for the first time, as if she could be on an equal footing with the Wang family after the divorce. Her son's success in stock trading made her face particularly bright. Mother Lu had seen Wang Zheng in the past. The couple instinctively felt guilty, and now they felt their backs straighten up. What are you looking at? We are divorced now, Lily Wang, please stop pestering my son. Lu Xiaoguan's plan was also known to Mother Lu. She also agreed to give Wang Beihe, a dead girl, a show of strength. Women should regard their husbands as their top priority. In the past, Beihe's behavior was simply rebellious and she dared to be disrespectful to her mother-in-law. She would have seen it earlier. Lily was dissatisfied. If it weren't for the fact that Lily had money in her hands and she always wanted to get it, Mother Lu would not have approved of the marriage between these two people. After getting married, he also tried every means to get Lily's money. Now his son has found a way to cure Lily. In Mother Lu's opinion, her son should not marry Lily. As long as he gets her money, he will dump her. Find someone richer, and let her become a broken shoe by herself with no one to go to. After thinking triumphantly for a long time, the smile on Mother Lu's face deepened. As soon as she said these words, Bai Rong and his wife were half angry to death. At the same time, Bai He held her parents back with a smile, and her face darkened. He rushed to Lu Xiaoguan and said, "Since we are divorced now, Lu Xiaoguan, please take away your own things." She asked him to move out just after the divorce. This woman turned her back like a book too quickly. Lu Xiaoguan felt unhappy. Most of his original elated mood after the divorce also disappeared, but he thought that as long as he got divorced, he would go there. The good days are still to come, and there will always be a day when Lily begs for her. Thinking of this, she felt happy again, and nodded slowly, "Don't worry, I will move together later. By the way, you have to keep the car I bought. It was our property before marriage, and it's in my name. You can buy another one later." Lily saw Lu Xiaoguan walk directly into the parking lot, and couldn't help but give him a slight smile. As soon as he smiled, Lu Xiaoguan stiffened and his face became a little ugly. This car was indeed bought by Wang Beihe, and for some reason, in order to get the license plate, Wang Beihe's name was also written on it. Lu Xiaoguan didn't take it seriously at first. After all, he drove the car. It's just a name of Lily. He is very sure of Lily Wang's feelings for him. He knows that Lily Wang can't escape from his hands. In addition, the car is getting older and older, so it doesn't matter who has the same name on it. The two were not married at the time, so he never thought this problem was serious. At that time, Wang Bei he didn't have enough money, so he went back to his parents and asked for 300,000 yuan to buy him a BMW. Now, although Lu Xiaoguan has money to buy a brand new car, he still wants to keep the money to buy a house. If he drives his own car in the future, it was inconvenient for the company not to have a car, but Lily didn't ask about it at the moment. She mentioned the car. Even if Lu Xiaoguan didn't want to give it back to her, he couldn't find an excuse. He felt cruel for a moment, secretly thinking that Lily would look for him in the future. When they got back together, he would show it to Lily, and then he threw the car keys at Lily angrily, then turned around and took his parents and others into a taxi. Who is this? It is very disrespectful to use and throw away the car key. Originally Lily was not that far away from him. Even if the two are divorced. But a husband and wife pay back a favor 100 days a day. From this point of view, Lu Xiaoguan is really too small-minded. Bai Rong was so angry that she was trembling all over. She pointed at Lu Xiaoguan's back and cursed a few words. However, she saw her daughter beside her and thought that she had just been divorced. She was afraid that she would feel uncomfortable if he said this, so she endured her anger and shut up. Don't mention it. After Lily returned, she packed up all Lu Xiaoguan's things, brought them to the living room, and called Lu Xiaoguan. That night he got angry and took away the things. During this period, Lu Xiaoguan never called Lily. It was not until more than half a month later that the stock market crashed. For a while, the wealth Lu Xiaoguan accumulated through the stock market seemed to be in vain. He lost everything. Even Lu's mother gave him he couldn't get back his capital of 120,000 yuan. He didn't lose so much in the beginning, but the more he lost, the more reluctant he became, and the more unwilling he became, the more wrong he became. Looking at the few $1,000s left in his account, Lu Xiaoguan's eyes turned red. Although others are still young. But in fact, he can no longer afford to lose. He has no solid backing. There was no back-end support. Now his mother had to raise a pair of younger siblings, and the house in his hometown was being dealt with. He had previously been thinking about making more money through stock trading to open a company. He himself also lost his previous stable company and was only 20 years old. People under the age of 4 are already young and inexperienced, but they have gone from poverty to wealth, and then ended up penniless and divorced. Not to mention that Lu Xiaoguan, who has always been proud and arrogant, cannot accept such a result. Even in a few years, he may not have the mature psychology to accept such a blow. Lu Xiaoguan was about to collapse. He had called people everywhere to find connections and wanted to get the stock market back up again, but how could he possibly be able to do such a thing? After being ridiculed and scolded by others, when Mother Lu heard that 100,000 yuan had now shrunk to less than 10,000, she passed out with her eyes open. Mother Lu was already quite old, and she almost went crazy after experiencing such stimulation. In addition to most of the 100,000 yuan given by Lily Wang, the other 10,000 yuan came from her life savings and from the sale of the house. Money. Now that she has no money, what will she do when she gets old? There are 2 children who still need to study. Where will the tuition and living expenses come from? Whenever she thought about this, Mother Lu couldn't help but blame her son, thinking that he had lost all his money in the stock market. Lu Xiaoguan was already irritable, and the more his mother blamed him, the more uncomfortable he felt. Now that he was in an irritable mood, he had no time to be filial to his mother, and sometimes he would say something back. If he had a stable job and had money and status, Mother Lu would naturally not dare to talk back to her son who might have to provide for her in old age. But now that Lu Xiaoguan has been divorced, he does not have a strong in-law family, or even these 2. For months, he didn't even have a job. All he could do was sit in front of the computer all day long, living like a ghost. Now he just couldn't live on by himself, and he also lost his 100,000 yuan. This is very important to him. For Mother Lu, This was a fact that she couldn't accept at all. The two mother and son began to quarrel frequently. As time went by, Lu Xiaoguan couldn't help but miss the leisurely life in college and his married life half a year ago. This post-divorce life is not as beautiful as he imagined. The rented house worth 3,000 yuan a month cannot be compared with Lily's large and impressive house. The houses here are only about 100 square meters in total. But there are several people living there, including a younger brother, a younger sister, and a mother who curses all day long. Unlike in the past, the two of them lived in a 300 square meter house. Not to mention it was spacious, and it also had his own dedicated office. Compared with the study room now, I don't know how much more leisurely it is. What's more, Lu Xiaoguan didn't have to worry about rent and property management in the past. After the divorce, he thought he had money and wouldn't worry about that. But now no one pays for water, electricity, etc., and he has no job, so he is naturally stretched. When the various bills came out, Lu Xiaoguan couldn't help but quarrel with Lu's mother again, and when he asked her to save more in the future, he looked at the house where he used to live and began to miss it. In the past, Lily Wang was innocent and cute, and she was devoted to him. If he hadn't become greedy and took her back to his hometown, everything might not have happened. If he only grew up happily with her in the imperial capital, without his mother constantly giving advice in his ears, if he didn't listen to Mother Lu and wanted to give her power but instead made her feel cold and lukewarm towards him, she must still be the girl who was so infatuated with her back then. At this time, Lu Xiaoguan was so regretful that his intestines were green, even after Lily became pampered. He should also be more patient. He shouldn't have listened to Mother Lu and speculated in stocks in the first place. Now, not only is the job gone and the money gone, but also the wife is gone. It was already pretty good for a boy from a remote country to marry Lily Wang. He should have had the support of his father-in-law, and he would have risen to great heights from then on. If he had not listened to Mother Lu, would things be different now? Lu Xiaoguan's character is like this. He is ambitious when he does not encounter setbacks. Once they encounter the slightest blow, they can't wait to shrink back into their own shells and blame others for everything. He endured it for 2 days, but couldn't bear it anymore and went back to find Lily. After all, Lily was not as he imagined. She still clung to him after the divorce. But when he came to the previous community, Lily had already talked to the security guard. After saying hello, he was not allowed to go in again. He stayed on guard for 2 days and didn't even see anyone from Lily. Lu Xiaoguan, who was extremely anxious, wanted to call Lily to propose remarriage. It's just that Lily has set his mobile phone number to reject caller ID. With no other choice, the family needs money for everything. It was so uncomfortable to have no money. When Lu's mother came all the time and insisted on renting a house for her in the imperial capital, when Lu Xiaoguan was reduced to eating instant noodles all day long, he already thought that such a life was the worst. Yes, there can never be a more miserable time than that, but now I find that I was too naive before. What misfortune is it if I can only eat instant noodles? He can't even find the money to take the bus to find a job now. Mother Lu scolded him all day long for being so useless after getting into college and reading all the books into the dog's belly. And a pair of younger siblings that he seemed to like very much in the past are now boring to Lu Xiaoguan. They know how to ask for money all day long, either for tuition or living expenses. Lu Xiaoguan feels that it is too depressing to be with such a family, and he begins to want to escape. In this home, he began to miss his previous life, but now it was too late to regret it. He went to Lily's community several times and made countless phone calls to Lily. He went to beg Wang Zheng and his wife. The two couples who used to be very tolerant of him because of their daughter now looked at him angrily. Even if he was allowed to kneel down and kowtow, Bai Rong would just tell him to get lost. Lu Xiaoguan had been pestering the Wang family for half a year without even seeing Lily in person. Only then did he really give up and start looking for a job of his own in the imperial capital. But how could it be so easy for him, a recently graduated college student, to find a job in the imperial capital? His requirements were too high, and he was spoiled by the former Wang Bei. In this era when a large number of students flocked to campus every year, he demanded a salary. He wanted more than a few thousand, otherwise he wouldn't be able to pay his rent, and he didn't want to do a job that he thought was shameful, such as a sales job where he bowed his head and smiled. At this moment, Lily Wang didn't beg his father, Wang Zheng, to sell him a favor, so naturally he wouldn't. Maybe he found a satisfactory place to stay. At first, Lu Xiaoguan hated himself for being unkind to the people he met, and also hated the company bosses for not recognizing talents. But later on, he had to find a new job as a probationary student with very little income under the pressure of life. With no money to pay the rent, the family had no choice but to move to a cheap basement. Many years later, Lu Xiaoguan had been turned into an insensitive person by life. He struggled to support his family every day until he was in his 30s and married a very fierce woman. In the end, he almost exhausted himself trying to give birth to a son. The problem comes. Without a high starting point for him, he seemed to no longer have the scenery and skills in the plot. Mother Lu also began to try to shine leather shoes in the imperial capital for a pair of children. The two mother and son no longer have the same level as before. Dignity, Lily once drove past the imperial plaza and saw Lu Xiaoguan, who was bent over and wearing an old coat, standing in front of Mother Lu, who was scolded by a shoeshine customer and couldn't help laughing. He hooked up lightly. This time Bai Rong did not die. As expected, after the tumor in her brain was eliminated, she never died suddenly again, nor did Wang Zheng marry Wu Ma. Bai He never married again, and Wang Zheng, the two couples just thought that she was frightened because she met an unkind person, and they couldn't help but feel more pity for their daughter. Only Lily was able to successfully complete this task after decades of being very comfortable. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 147. Li Yangzi in the starry sky was still waiting in the space first. When Lily appeared in the space again, she endured the discomfort caused by the sudden return. After opening her eyes, she saw Li Yangzi sitting in front of her. The mission was completed well. Lily Wang is very satisfied. Lily Wang herself is a very cowardly and kind-hearted person with no temper. Although she wants to take revenge on Lu Xiaoguan's family, a person with her personality actually doesn't like to beat her personally. Shasha brought Lu Xiaoguan to a very miserable end. Now Bei has ruined Lu Xiaoguan's life and made him an ordinary person for the rest of his life without taking advantage of the Wang family. Finally, he can live a good life. For Wang Bei is the most beautiful. In addition, this girl is romantic by nature, and if a relationship fails, it is equivalent to destroying her entire view of love. Lily's lifelong life of living alone happened to be right for her. The thought of not being stained with dust again, so this time Li Yangzi specially waited for Lily to come back. Wang Bei is willing to pay the price, and let me give you a little more this time. Where do you want to add it? Seeing the Nine Yang manual, which was much dimmed and now looming, Lily said without hesitation, I want to use force. Li Yangzi fell silent. His slender red phoenix eyes stared at Lily with a silent sense of oppression. His thin lips were pursed tightly, showing some sharp lines. He didn't say a word at this time, which made Lily feel a little nervous at the same time. She asked in a low voice, What's wrong? Do you feel that it is a pity that the last time I asked you to help me with a task, you lost the Nine Yang manual? His voice was low. But his tone was very calm. There was no ups and downs at all, which gave people a creepy feeling. Lily felt a little nervous all over for some reason. In fact, she did feel that it was a pity after losing the 9 Yang manual, but it was not up to her to decide which task to do. Li Yangzi at least did not lie to her, but directly gave her the right to choose. In fact, except for the last time the loss of the mission 9 Yang manual, everything was perfect. Lily was indeed a little depressed at first, but she was not an unreasonable person. It would be fine if Li Yangzi didn't ask, but he still asked such a question. Lily struggled very much, and after a long while, she looked at Li Yangzi several times. Yes, it's a bit of a pity she had rarely been surprised when she saw Li Yangzi appear before, but now she had a tangled look on her face. Li Yangzi's eyes showed a bit of softness, and the corners of his mouth seemed vague, with very faint smile lines. Then, I'll give you a chance and send you back to the world in Yishan. It's up to you whether you can completely repair the 9 Yang scripture. Having said this, Li Yangzi stood up immediately. He was very close to Lily. At this moment, his tall figure was directly in front of her. There was no reflection of him in the bright starry sky. But at this moment, he gave Lily a very heavy sense of oppression, as if she didn't dare to stand in front of him. He moved, not daring to make any more small moves. It wasn't until her information reappeared in the starry sky that Lily remembered what Li Yangzi had just said. Gender, female, variable. Name, Lily. Age, 21. Intelligence, 62, out of 100. Appearance, 61, out of 100 points. Physical strength, 59, out of 100. Force, 27, out of 100 points. Spirit, 15, out of 100 points. Reputation, 21, out of 100 points. Skills, 9 Yang Manual, 9 Yin Manual, Heaven and Earth Gate Tao Te Ching, Southern Gu Technique. Specialties, Intermediate Cooking Skills, Advanced Acting Skills. Charisma, 31, out of 100. Collection, Corpse King's Love, Saint's Blessing, Angel's Heart. The 9 Yang Manual is still so bleak that it seems as if the transparency is about to disappear. This time the mission is not dangerous, so except for the extra attribute value that Lily Wang got because she was particularly satisfied, there is no extra gain. Thinking that she has done that, she knew very clearly how difficult it was to increase this attribute value during many missions. In addition to Li Yangzi giving her a fixed point each time because he was satisfied with her attitude, it was very difficult for Li Yangzi to give her an extra point each time. When Lily thought of this, she didn't know if it was because she heard Li Yangzi said that the 9 Yang Manual could be repaired. She was a little excited, and she subconsciously asked, "Sometimes the 2 points you give me are all because you want to. Why are the people on the mission willing to pay the price?" This is not the first time she has dealt with Li Yangzi, but she used to be too reserved and restrained to look like a real 21-year-old girl. She never said a word of nonsense to Li Yangzi about anything other than the mission, and was so quiet that she seemed to be restrained. As for herself, no one would notice that she is a very mature person. Logically speaking, Li Yangzi would not answer her rash question, but I don't know if it is because Lily never asked questions before, so this time she spoke. It seemed particularly precious, so precious that Li Yangzi couldn't bear to refuse her question. Yes, in your words, you can call her behavior as making a wish with her soul as a reward. Li Yangzi thought for a while and came up with a metaphor that was scary enough. Lily really didn't expect that sometimes she would let herself. She was extremely happy that the increase in attribute value had to be exchanged for someone else's life. Lily Wang, a kind-hearted person who was a bit cowardly, did not expect that she would make such a decision to sacrifice herself for others as usual. She did not expect that the attribute value there was something like this hidden behind the increase, which made me a little confused and speechless for a while. It's like using some of her specialties to make up for what's added to you. 2 $5 pieces in the real world add up to 10 yuan. Seeing that Lily didn't speak, Li Yangzi explained one more sentence. The meaning behind the words is that if Lily is a $5 card, and Lily Wang is another $5 card, if you want the money to become more, you must add 5 more yuan to make it 10 yuan. From now on, there will only be one 10 yuan in the world, not the 5 yuan. This metaphor is easy to understand, and Lily also understands that there is no such thing as a free lunch. If she wants to increase the attribute value, someone will naturally have to subtract it, as if it is a kind of balance. She has never thought about this before, but now knowing this, I can't help but feel mixed feelings in my heart. If I had known that I would get such an answer, I would not have asked that question so quickly just now. They are all voluntary. Do you want to enter the mission now? Li Yangzi didn't know whether to comfort her or tell the truth. Lily nodded reluctantly. I want to continue to enter the mission. She knew what Li Yangzi said. Meaning, she also understood that Lily Wang and others all voluntarily sent her to contribute points, but it was uncomfortable to step on other people's lives while she was alive, but since she had chosen this path, she would go on it again if she goes down, even if she hits her head and bleeds. There will always be a day when she can no longer walk after knowing the truth. Her heart is not untouched, but she can repay each of these people who gave her attribute points with their lives. She can only complete the task more carefully and satisfy their wishes. When she entered the original owner's body again, Lily's head was so painful that she almost vomited. Because she had just entered the mission, her mental strength was already low, so the moment she entered the mission every time, she felt uncomfortable. Fortunately, she had already experienced so much. This time, she has become somewhat accustomed to it. A lot of information came to her mind, and a soft female voice next to her seemed to be saying something to her, but she just pretended not to hear it at all and just waved her hand. The room suddenly became quiet, and a huge amount of information was passed into her mind, including a woman's unwillingness and resentment. In Eternal Dragon Slayer, Lily originally thought that she might become Hu Qingyu's sister this time and seek revenge on the scumbag, but she never thought that this time the mission would actually be like this. She became Hanji, the concubine of the future King Ruyang, a woman who only appeared once in the plot. Hanji's appearance is absolutely beautiful, and she is even comparable to Zhao Min in the plot. Although her appearance is not necessarily as exquisite as Zhao Min's, she is naturally charming. Later, she was sent to the Prince of Ruyang's mansion and became the wife of Prince Ruyang. Love my concubine. She admired the hero of King Ruyang, and she was satisfied to be his concubine. After entering the palace of King Ruyang, she was deeply loved. Once, when King Ruyang proudly introduced her as a beauty to his disciples, he unexpectedly saw her at a glance. It became the end of trouble. At that time, Fan Yao, the right envoy of the light, could not get the love of the purple-shirt Dragon King and then died of Yang Dingtian. He saw that the Ming sect was torn apart like a piece of loose sand. For the sake of the Ming sect, he lurked in the capital of the Yuan dynasty and became a disciple of the respected King Ruyang in the Yuan dynasty. A diner, King Ruyang was in his prime, and he was devoted to the sake of the country. In recent years, rebellions have broken out all over the country, and the Mingjiao people have formed teams to resist the rule of the Yuan dynasty. In order to deal with this group of unruly people in the world, King Ruyang specially made a special trip. Summoning capable people from all over the world to work for him in the palace, in addition to the famous Xianming elders, there were also many strange people from the western regions. From then on, Fan Yao voluntarily disfigured himself and pretended to be mute for the sake of Ming Xiao, and hid in the Ruyang prince's palace. This has been anonymity for many years. The Mingjiao had always been fragmented. It was not until Zhang Wuji came out many years later that he unified the scattered Mingjiao. In the end, he invaded the imperial capital in order to save the members of the 6 major sections. This was also the beginning of Hanji's suffering. She was originally just an ordinary woman in the inner house. If she was lucky enough to give birth to children for the king of Ruyang and establish a position in the inner house, her life would probably be over. Who would have expected that Fan Yao would have his mind set on her in order to achieve the prestige of Ming Xiao? In order to steal the antidote of Shixiang Ruanjin powder from the two elders of Xianming, he actually stole her out and allowed her to be bullied and humiliated by the Lezang guest. In the end, she fell from a high tower and died, and was tragically set on fire. The tower collapsed and was reduced to a pulp. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 148. Hanji does not appear many times in the legend of heaven and dragon slaying, but in these few moments, a woman died tragically. She should have had a very happy life, and even though she was only a concubine in the Ruyang prince's palace, she could not. The king of Ruyang loved her and pampered her, and her life was not difficult at first, but in the end, just because the Ming cult wanted to become a big thing and to save the 6 major sects and achieve their reputation, he sacrificed a woman. A housewife who was fighting and killing these big things in the world didn't actually understand. She didn't originally want to become a powerful woman like Zhao Min, but things that had nothing to do with her were forcefully involved. Without leaving her name clear, she and Lu Zhang died naked together. In the end, there were no bones left, and there was not even a place to bury them. Han Ji was very resentful. She resented the people in the world. She resented Lu Zhang and Xian Ming. But what she hated even more was Fan Yao, Ming Xiao, and Zhang Wuji. They called for justice, but they didn't treat her like this. A so-called big shot who takes the life of a weak woman seriously. She wants to uproot the Ming cult, she wants to make all the important people in the Ming cult miserable, and she wants Fan Yao to pay 100 times the price for what he has done. After Beihe received the plot, there was still a dull pain in her mind. In fact, in the original plot, the Ming Jiao in Yaishan slaying the dragon were on the righteous side. Although most of their people behaved informally, they did it for the country. It is a good thing for the people, but when it comes to the two tasks in this world, they are both anti-Ming Jiao. Let's not mention the original Master Miu. After all, Miu was not a good image character in the original drama, but now even a little cannon fodder in it wants to let the Ming Jiao die, which shows that there is indeed something wrong with the Ming Jiao. The original owner's wish was very direct. Even after receiving the memory now, Lily could feel that there was a voice in her heart shouting to destroy the Ming cult. Kill Fan Yao. It is actually not difficult to eliminate the Ming cult. She has already done it once before when she fulfilled her wish to exterminate. As long as she gets the 9 Yang manual and learns martial arts, if she is strong enough, it is actually not difficult to eliminate the Ming cult. After all, the Ming cult, in fact, after Yang Dingtian passed away, it was like a piece of loose sand. As long as Zhang Wuji, the leader, is suppressed, the Ming Jiao will naturally be abolished. The timing of her arrival was very coincidental. It was just that when the original owner was young, Zhang Wuji should still be in Ice and Fire Island with his parents. There was no such thing as his parents being forced to death. Naturally, there was no such thing. Later, he was forced to go to Huashan to obtain scriptures from the belly of the white ape. Thinking of this, Lily's heart couldn't help but move. She had actually obtained the 9 Yang manual once, so it was not difficult for her to find the 9 Yang manual. When she thought of Li Yangzi sending her on this mission, she said the purpose is to give her a chance to learn the 9 Yang manual again. Lily couldn't help but get a little excited. Hanji's background was not very high. She was originally from an ordinary Mongolian family. In the end, she was sold by her family into a nobleman's house. After learning singing and dancing, she was then transferred to King Ruyang. She was not very old at this time. She came to this world just when her parents were about to sell her into slavery. If she finds a chance to escape, she can get the 9 Yang manual and enter the Ruyang palace again to seek revenge on Fan Yao. I actually admired the original owner of King Ruyang very much. At this time, people valued martial arts over literature. For a hero like King Ruyang who had experienced hundreds of battles, almost the entire Yuan dynasty admired him very much. The original owner also had that kind of heroic plot. What's more, at the end of the plot, when the original owner was thrown out of the tower together with the deer stick guest, she also saw Wang Baobao coming to rescue her on the order of King Ruyang. Naturally, Han Ji felt more about King Ruyang. She fell in love with him a little, and wanted to eradicate the Ming cult. In a way, she wanted to fulfill King Ruyang's wish, and finally grow old peacefully in the palace. Lily finished sorting out the thoughts in her mind, and when she opened her eyes, she saw that she was in a tent-like room with a dome, and heard someone whispering something outside. Lily bent down and opened the window, took a look outside, and then jumped out. Because the original owner was sold when she was young, she didn't have a deep relationship with her parents. Lily didn't feel guilty at all when she escaped, but it was not easy for a young and pretty girl to walk alone in this era. It's easy. At this time, wars are raging and the people are in dire straits. From time to time in the world in the plot, we can see people changing their children and eating them. Lily's body is thin and tender. Although she knows a few martial arts, she can't do it for a while. It was not realistic to practice now, so after Lily escaped from the metropolis, she chose uninhabited paths. She was already familiar with the road to Huashan Mountain when she became the master of Ju, and she also knew which road there was no one was. However, in order to prevent others from meeting others on the road, she still caught bugs along the way and practiced Gu, and sometimes rested in the mountains. During the day, all she ate was some wild vegetables, and she had no money. In this era, even if she had money, she might not be able to buy food. Sometimes she was really hungry, so Lily could only use her talent of bewitching to catch bugs. Come and eat. Fortunately, after learning the art of Gu, she understood what kind of insects could be eaten and what kinds of insects could not be eaten. It was already nearly a year later when she made it all the way to the location of the Nine Yang Manual. Calculating the time, Zhang Wuji would still have 2 years to return to the Central Plains. Lily easily found the white ape on Mount Hua. When he took out the scripture from its stomach, he saw that most of the contents that he had forgotten had been rewritten. When it appeared in front of her eyes, Lily was so moved that she almost cried. The days in that cave were filled with food and spring water to drink. 2 or 3 years passed quickly. She calculated that it was almost the same time. It would be the time when Zhang Wuji returned to the Central Plains with his parents. He would be hit by the 2 elders Xian Ming. Injury, Zhu Changling was finally forced to the foot of Huashan Mountain. Unlike leaving half of the Nine Yang Manual to Zhang Wuji when he became extinct, Lily simply left about 2/3 of the Nine Yang Manual this time. In addition, it was enough for Zhang Wuji to be able to remove the Xianming Divine Palm Belt when he completed his training. The pain he suffered would also bring him some benefits, while the other half was replaced by the Nine Yin Sutra and left in the cave. The Nine Yang Manual is known as the most mysterious and powerful scripture in this plot. It can almost be compared with Shaolin's Yi Jin Zheng. It has its own mystery. In the plot, Zhang Wuji practiced the Nine Yang Manual. Every time he practiced a top-level martial arts, with the Nine Yang magic as the foundation, he almost never encountered difficulties. Although it was because of his own talent and intelligence. But the bigger reason is that after he learned the complete Nine Yang magic, Lily was not prepared to give Zhang Wuji room to develop this time. As long as Zhang Wuji, the leader, is killed, what will Ming Jiao want to do when the time comes? No matter how they play, most of the remaining group of people are divided into separate groups, which is not worth mentioning. But she thought of Fan Yao, so when she was preparing martial arts for Zhang Wuji, she thought about it but still kept most of the Nine Yang Manual. Counting the time when Zhang Wuji was about to fall to Huashan, Lily hid the homemade scriptures and left Huashan. This time she did not enter the nobleman's mansion as in the plot, but went directly to Ruyang Prince's mansion. The original owner's wish was to grow old peacefully in the inner house and not go through the torture in the plot again, but although she hoped to marry King Ruyang, but did not show any determination to marry King Ruyang. Although in the plot, King Ruyang is a veteran who has been on the battlefield for many years, and it is early for people to get married at this time. King Ruyang is not very old at the moment, but Lily still has no interest in being his concubine, so she directly enters the mansion. As a maid, she followed the young Zhao Min at the same time. She also saw her rival who had been in the house for a long time. At this moment, his face was burned and his hair was burnt, and he was pretending to be mute. Fan Yao, who had changed his name to Ku Taochuo, became Zhao Min's martial arts master and gained Zhao Min's trust in the Ruyang Palace. The enemy was extremely jealous when they met. Fan Yao was originally handsome, but in order to achieve great things in the Ming cult, he did not hesitate to burn his own face. This shows that this person has a cruel heart, not to mention others, but also himself. For a person like him, killing him will not cause him pain. He is not afraid of death, otherwise he would not have lurked in the Ruyang prince's mansion. In order to achieve great things, he has pretended to be mute for many years. This endurance is also second to none. This person acts completely as he pleases without restraint. If he wants to achieve the great cause of Mingjiao, he is even willing to kill several people in Mingjiao to achieve his goal. To deal with such a person as if he has no weaknesses at all, I am afraid that the only way to destroy his hope is to destroy him. Several times, when his hopes were at their highest point, they fell hard again. Nothing could pierce his soul more than such a blow. It is precisely because of this that Lily gave Zhang Wuji room to develop. She wanted to let the Mingjiao rise first, and then trample them severely, making Fan Yao's lifelong plan come to nothing, and let him see with his own eyes what he was determined to do. The loyal Mingjiao would only end up being wiped out in the end. If that happens, it would probably be more terrible for Fan Yao than killing him. Lily successfully got into Zhao Min's side and became one of the inconspicuous maids around her. Zhao Min has been smart since she was a child. Lily has been with her for several years. It can be said that the two of them grew up together, but like Lily's martial arts development is average, and Zhao Min is also growing as a girl. She is very smart and can always draw inferences from one instance to another. Compared to Wang Baobao, who is only a few years older than her, Zhao Min is actually better than him. Not only did she learn martial arts from Fan Yao, whose pseudonym was Ku Taochuo, she was also not inferior in Han customs and culture. She had a calm temperament and acted decisively. Lily had been with her for several years, and she heard Ruyang King praise Zhao Min more than once. He has the talent of a general, but it is a pity that he is not a man and cannot fight for the Yuan dynasty to kill the enemy. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 149. But Zhao Min's country is not inferior to its men. As she grows older, the conflict between the Mingjiao and the imperial court becomes deeper and deeper. From time to time, we can hear news of the confrontation between the remnants of the Mingjiao and the imperial court. At this time, Zhao Min finally proposed he wants to leave Dadu and wipe out all the Mingjiao. Lily knew that when Zhao Min went there, she would meet her nemesis, and in the end she would fall in love with the indecisive Zhang Wuji, and eventually betray the Yuan dynasty, betray her father and brother, and abandon her glory and wealth incognito to follow Zhang Wuji throughout her life. We don't care whether it's worth it or not, but King Ruyang quickly agreed to his daughter's request. At this time, Prince Ruyang's palace was very powerful. Not only did Zhao Min have the top masters Xianming and others around her, but she also had the 8 heroes of the divine arrow following her. By his side, there are also the 3 brothers Ada and other monks from the western regions whom the Ruyang palace had received from the western regions. They are very powerful and can travel around the world without any problem. Zhao Min's own martial arts may not be very high, but she has so many talented people around her that King Ruyang doesn't have to worry about his daughter's safety. In addition, he also knows his daughter's abilities. Even if she is not good at martial arts, in terms of resourcefulness and scheming, she is very capable. A man might not be her match, so she agreed to Zhao Min's request. Although the young Zhao Min was very scheming, she could not compare with Fan Yao. She did not know that there was a well-hidden Mingjiao light envoy beside her. Whenever she accidentally discussed with King Ruyang what to do when the Ming cult was being annihilated, Fan Yao, with his hair disheveled, showed a flash of murderous intent in his eyes. Just like in the plot, Zhang Wuji became famous all over the world in one battle at Guangmingding. He became the hope of the Ming cult and the leader of the Ming cult. Everyone respected him immensely. The 6 major sects were also taken to the capital by Zhao Min, and Lily waited for her chance. It's finally here. When the 2 elders Xianming and Ming followed Zhao Min back to Beijing, this time Lily kept her name anonymously and concealed her identity. She was one of them. One of the most inconspicuous maidservants, King Ruyang took another beautiful woman as his concubine. When the Mingjiao people followed Zhao Min's footsteps and came to Dadu. This time, Fan Yao made the same idea as in the plot, and asked the green-winged Bat King to steal Ruyang Wangzina's beauty and put it on Lezang's bed. Not long after Wei Yuxiao put his front foot down on the beauty, Lily followed up with her back foot and picked up the naked beauty who had been hit on the acupuncture points. With her current martial arts, Wei Yuxiao could not detect her although she was following closely. Even Fan Yao might not be able to detect her footsteps. If the current Zhang Wuji became famous in the Guangmingding martial arts battle and was known all over the world, then the Zhang Wuji who had practiced martial arts for several years after Beihe and had an incomplete result could not even compete with half of what Lily is now. After emptying the beauty's sleeping hole, Lily patted her twice. Seeing that she was coughing when she could move, he pulled the quilt tighter for her. Let the prince be careful about Kudu Tuo. Let him send heavy troops to surround the 6 major sects and suppress the remnants of the Ming section. After saying this, Lily said again, he fell back on the Lezang guest bed and lay down. Since Hanji's nightmare started here, it was natural that she should also end it here. Today, Fan Yao had already prepared to force the Lezang guest master and brother to hand over the antidote, so he threw the beauty on the Lezang guest bed, and knowing that He Bai Weng liked fine wine, he seduced her. He took the bait. Not long after Lezang Ke entered the house, he happened to see the figure lying on his bed. He chased him out but didn't see Wei Yuxiao move. When he came back, he saw his true face revealed. Lily, the color immediately imparts the soul to it. He was already very lustful, but now an inexplicable beauty suddenly appeared on the bed. Her face was very beautiful, and she had never seen it before. Just when he was a little surprised, Fan Yao, who was pretending to be hit by Shixiang, appeared outside. He Bai Weng pushed the door open and came in. He Bai Weng walked in and shouted, "Brother, hurry up and get the antidote. I don't know what happened, but Master Ku was poisoned by Shixiang Ruinjin powder." Lezang turned Lily over and asked, "You say what?" While he was speaking, he rolled his eyes. "Aren't you in charge of the antidote to Shixiang Ruinjin powder?" After Lezang said this, He Bai Weng couldn't help but shake his head. "I just can't understand it, senior brother. Go quickly get the antidote and give it to both of us." As soon as he finished speaking, Lily heard Lezang's pushing voice. At this time in the plot, Lezang discovered Fan Yao's weirdness and saw through him. He pretended to be injured, but as expected, he heard Lezang Ke say, "Master Ku, I'm offended." In an instant, there was the sound of a human body falling to the ground. Fan Yao laughed twice and shouted sternly, "You are so bold, you dare to steal even the concubine that the prince has accepted." The 2 elders Xianming did not expect that Ku Taochuo, who had been in the house for many years, was originally thought to be a fool, but they did not expect that he would speak. They were all surprised. When Fan Yao first entered the door, he did not notice that the person lying on the bed was not Ruyang Wangzina. The concubine was Lily instead. At this moment, he just thought that Wei Yuxiao's plan was successful. Zhang had never seen Lily showing her true face before. In the past, Lily lowered her head and pretended to be crooked when she was around Zhao Min. With her slanted mouth and squinting eyes, her advanced acting skills came into play. She was much easier to win people's trust than Xiao Zhao, who had sneaked into the Guangmingding. Therefore, she had been around Zhao Min for many years, but no one discovered her true face. At this moment, Zhang only thought that Lily was really the concubine of Ruyang Wangzina, so when he heard Fan Yao drink like this, he couldn't help but feel guilty and scared. For a moment, he was speechless and only opened his lips. "Don't dare to speak out." Fan Yao originally came here for the antidote, but the first time he took the Shixiang Ruinjin powder, he lost all his internal strength. If he mistakenly took the poison as the antidote, he would definitely die if he took it a second time, so he didn't dare taking risks by force. He had no choice but to resort to trickery. After talking nonsense, he only mentioned that he wanted to save Master Mija's mother and daughter. After talking nonsense, Zhang thought that he was romantic and happy, but he didn't expect that Kutuchuo was also a member of the same group. There was no doubt that he was there at the moment, and he felt really guilty, so he actually agreed. Suddenly, there was a series of footsteps outside, and someone shouted loudly, "The palace has lost a concubine." The footprints happened to be here. They were coming to Wanan Temple. Did Mr. Lu see it? While Zhang dismissed the person, he saw Fan Yao carrying Lily on his back. Under the night light, the beauty's eyes were moving, and there was a cold smile on the corner of her mouth. Although Zhang liked the beauty, but when I saw Lily's smiling face, I still couldn't help but feel a chill running down my back, showing a bit of fear. Everyone was coming out of the tower, but they didn't expect to meet Zhao Min, who came to the tower. She was stunned when she saw Fan Yao. While talking to Fan Yao, Zhao Min naturally saw the quilt on Fan Yao's back. I couldn't help but be stunned at this point, and subconsciously joked, "Master Ku always thought I was stupid and refused to accept me as his disciple, but now he just threw up his hands and quit." As soon as Zhao Min finished speaking, Fan Yao was at a loss for words. He was complaining secretly in his heart and wanted to pretend to be mute and get through the matter. He was also afraid that Bai behind him would come out to ask for help and do something bad. Therefore, his heart became cruel and he couldn't help but have some murderous intentions. He supported him. The hand on the back of the hand mobilized the internal force, and was about to shake Lily's heart to pieces. Unexpectedly, when the internal force was released, it was like a stream entering the vast ocean, and there was no response. Lily's two arms stretched out from the quilt, like snakes. It wrapped around Fan Yao's neck and immediately scared Fan Yao into a cold sweat. "The princess is asking you something, how should Master Ku answer?" Bai endured it for this moment, and finally the drama began. When she spoke, her voice was charming and soft. Although Fan Yao was not satisfied with Ruyang Wangzina's concubine. "How could I get along with him in depth, but now I heard that it was not that Ji's voice." At some point, Wei Yuxiao seemed to have caught the wrong person. His whole body couldn't help but feel excited, and he almost stretched out his hand to put it on his back. The living Lily was thrown out. "Who is your excellency?" As soon as he saw the stranger, Zhao Min retreated behind Ada and others. Fan Yao's neck was held in Lily's hand, as if someone had caught a rooster with its wings, and he was full of energy. He couldn't help it anymore, his face turned red. Lily lifted up his hair, glanced at Zhao Min, smiled at her and winked, "Princess, can't you recognize me?" "I have been serving the princess for many years." After she said this casually, she used her inner strength in her hand and put a light palm on Ku Taochuo. Ku Taochuo couldn't bear it anymore, so he opened his mouth and spurted out a mouthful of blood. Although Lily didn't kill him with one palm, it did destroy most of his martial arts. If he rested for 10 days and a half, he could barely recover, but tonight Fan Yao couldn't even think of using up his inner strength. Zhao Min was so frightened by Lily's words that her face changed. She knew very well how high Fan Yao's martial arts were. It was obvious that Fan Yao was vulnerable in front of Lily. She just slapped her lightly, and Fan Yao spat. The blood came out, showing how high Lily's martial arts was. When Lezang saw Lily's behavior, he couldn't help but feel a little scared. He hurriedly leaned towards Xiaomin and hurriedly apologized, "Princess, please forgive me. Master Ku set up a trap tonight and harmed my junior brother and me to seek solutions. The medicine only said that he killed his mother and daughter in order to save his old lover. I don't know how this daughter got into my bed." He was still a little lustful at first, but after seeing Lily's martial arts, no matter how much he loves beauty, he has put all the dirty thoughts in his heart away. Even though a beauty is good, she still has to die. Just enjoy it. Obviously the Lily in front of him is not a fuel-efficient lamp. How dare he come forward now? After discovering that Fan Yao was deposed, Lezang knew that he was no match for Lily, let alone this time. His own junior brother was not around yet, so he dared to hide anything, so he hurriedly spoke out his words. Fan Yao fell to the ground and spurted blood from his mouth, with a ruthless look in his eyes. To be continued. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan Erwr. Chapter 150. What Lezang said is right, but I was not the only one who tied someone to your bed. Prince Zina's IG was tied to your room. Seeing that it was fun, I got involved. Lily. She kicked Fan Yao, who was dying on the ground, and heard a soft click sound. A look of unbearable pain appeared on Fan Yao's face, and then she laughed twice. Fan Yao, right envoy of light, for the great cause of Ming Xiao, you are so patient. You have pretended to be deaf and mute for many years, and you did not hesitate to disfigure yourself. Such sacrifices really make people unable to help but applaud you. As soon as Lily finished speaking, the expressions of everyone on the tower changed. The reputation of the Ming cult's Guangming envoys was so resounding in the past. Both of them were extremely talented people, and their martial arts were even more outstanding. However, after the death of Yang Dingtian, the leader of the Ming cult, Fan Yao was never heard of again in the world. Some people said that he had died a long time ago, some said that he had gone into seclusion, and some even said that he had returned to the western regions. There were different opinions. Unexpectedly, Lily, who looked like no more than a teenager, actually shouted out Fan Yao's name comes. You must know that although there are legends about Fan Yao in the world, Lily may not have been born when Fan Yao disappeared. Everyone was very surprised when she called out Fan Yao's identity. Zhao Min even had a pretty face. He shouted sharply. Nonsense. Master Ku was presented to his father by the Mongolian prince. His father found out this person's origin very clearly. He was just a tutu in the western regions performing arts and martial arts. How could he be the right envoy of light? Fan Yao said in Ruyang Prince's mansion. He has been in middle school for nearly 20 years. It can be said that Zhao Min grew up under his watch. He has a relationship with him that is both a teacher and a friend, and he is willing to tell him some of his daughter's private conversations. At this moment, I heard Lily reveal Fan Yao's true identity. This was a very serious blow to Zhao Min. For a moment, he retorted without thinking. Although Tianzi is smart, she believes in Fan Yao too much. Although she refuses to believe it now, she can't help but have some doubts in her heart. But she thinks about how much she trusted and valued Kutuchuo in the past. Thinking that he might be the right envoy of light, and went undercover to enter Ruyang Prince's mansion, I felt extremely uncomfortable in my heart. His face also became ugly. Is the princess afraid that I will lie to you? When Lily said this, she laughed softly. She tilted her mouth, showing the weird look she had made in front of Zhao Min in the past, and Zhao Min recognized her immediately. When he came out, he shouted, "Lily Han." "It's indeed me." Lily nodded, and smiled at Fan Yao, who was full of surprise. The right envoy of Light and Yang Xiao were jointly known as the two immortals of Xiaoao, so why are they pretending to be deaf and dumb now? Could it be that, having stayed in Prince Ru Yang's palace for 20 years, have you really forgotten how to speak? No, I think you are colluding with Ming Jiao, Zhangwuji and others at the same time. Don't you speak very fluently? As soon as Lily finished speaking, Zhang showed a bit of shock on his face. Fan Yao coughed twice and stared at Zhao Min with a frown on his face. Although he showed a calm look on his face, his hands hidden under his sleeves were tightly clenched. It was clear that deep down he was not feeling like he was so calm. Since the death of Yang Dingtian, you suspected that Chang Kun colluded with the Mongols and killed the leader of the sect, so in order to find out information for the brothers in the sect, you did not hesitate to disfigure yourself and infiltrated into the western regions. Later, you were introduced by the prince and entered. You have stayed in Prince Ru Yang's mansion for 20 years. When the princess had people arrest the Shaolin monks, in order to exonerate the Ming cult, you reconnected with the Ming cult people. This was because the prince's concubine wanted to frame him. Zhang forced his fellow apprentices to rebel, so that he could obtain the antidote and rescue the members of the 6 major sects, so that the Ming Jiao's reputation could reach its highest point in the martial arts world, right? Although Fan Yao didn't want to admit it, when he saw Lily smiling and telling him all about his conspiracy plan with Zhangwuji and others, he couldn't help but widen his eyes in surprise, thinking that under such a group of masters, he could still someone was quietly lurking around to find out all the news about the Ming cult. His heart felt cold and his face looked a little ugly. Who are you? Now that all the secrets have been exposed, Fan Yao has no intention of pretending to be stupid anymore. He doesn't tell secrets in front of Ming Gren. Since Lily has the ability to hide it from Zhangwuji and Zhangwuji, everyone in the Ming cult and his ears can prove that Lily's martial arts is much higher than him. Thinking of the success or failure of the Ming cult's plot, if Chen Yaojin suddenly appears at the critical moment and ruins the Ming cult's major affairs, Fan Yao's eyes show resentment. Lie, if he could still move at this moment, he would definitely kill Lily. Although Zhao Min had suspicions for a long time, when she heard Fan Yao speak, she still couldn't help but feel a bit of desolation and resentment in her heart. Just when she was about to speak, Lily smiled at Zhao Min. Princess, do you really think Zhangwuji likes you? In fact, he doesn't like you. Of course, if the princess is willing to devote herself to serve the same husband with Miss Zhou, Xiao Zhao, Zhu Er, etc., maybe Zhangwuji still has some possibility of accepting you. Zhao Min was born in Ruyang Prince's palace, and her status is so noble. But now Lily said that Zhangwuji accepted her. Even if Zhao Min likes Zhangwuji in his heart, he can't help but feel a little separated because of Fan Yao. He took a deep breath and said coldly. The voice asked, "Who are you?" "It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is that I am helping the princess to eliminate the Ming cult." After Lily said this, she looked at Fan Yao on the ground with a look of resentment. She smiled at Fan Yao and said, under the light, Mrs. Han's rosy cheeks were as bright as fire, and her bright eyes and white teeth were really alluring. Even though Zhang knew Lily was dangerous, he couldn't help but take a second look, but Fan Yao felt chills all over his body. I'm afraid the Ming Jiao people are already waiting under the tower to save people now. The two elders Xianming and Ming are really useless. They are already blind and confused after seeing wine and sex. If the princess really wants to make great contributions to the court, why not summon soldiers and horses at this time? Take the opportunity to kill all the Ming cult. Lily glanced at the livid Zhang and decided to kill him. Although the death of the original owner was caused by Fan Yao's heartbreaking slap, this person was too lustful. The original owner was quite afraid of him, and the two elders, Xianming and Ming, were not good people to begin with. Zhang had harmed many decent women, and his actions were just to eliminate harm for the people. Hearing Lily's words, Zhao Min was shocked. At the same time, she had no doubts at all, but she couldn't make up her mind. Although she hated Zhang Wuji for scheming with others and pitted herself for entrusting her to him, Zhao Min had already deeply in love. There is no way I can issue orders at this moment. Princess, not allowed. Fan Yao was very anxious when he heard Lily said that he wanted to kill all the members of the Ming cult. Fan has been hiding in Ruyang Prince's mansion for many years. It's true that if the princess is blamed, I am willing to die. I apologize, but I just asked the princess to let the Ming Jiao go because Fan has been teaching martial arts to the princess for many years. Although he is not a master and apprentice, he is better than a master and apprentice, and let the Ming Jiao go in his life. He was not afraid of anything. Even if he doesn't even care about his own life, he can be cruel to himself, but only the Ming Jiao is his hope. If it is destroyed, Fan Yao will have no love in his life. He is trying his best to. She wanted to stop Zhao Min, but she didn't know that it would be better if he didn't speak. Once he spoke, Zhao Min remembered the worries he had about his daughter's family in the past. He thought that he couldn't talk, so he mostly liked to talk to him. Now that he thinks about it, he feels extremely embarrassed. She was furious when she saw that Fan Yao, who had been by her side for a long time, would actually deceive her. She nodded without thinking. Send my order and call the archers from the mansion to come and surround Wan'an Temple. Once Zhao Min spoke at this moment, Fan Yao's eyes showed a look of despair. He stood up and wanted to rush towards Zhao Min, but as soon as he moved, his head of burnt yellow hair was stepped on by Lily. Fan Yao tried his best to sit up, but fell down again, hitting his head on the tower and gasping for breath with a bang. Miss Han, I have never had any enmity with you until recently. Why do you want to kill the Ming cult like this? At this moment, Fan Yao was really unwilling to give in. He stared at a pair of red eyes and tried hard to look at Lily. Past, I have been lurking in the palace for many years before you. You just entered the palace later. Seeing that you are quite young, you should not be a nail buried in the dark by the prince. Ming Jiao also does important things that benefit the country and the people. Why? Is this what you want? Lily saw the unwillingness and resentment on Fan Yao's face and chuckled. I just can't bear to see you using women as targets. I don't care about family and country affairs. If you want to frame Lazank, take the solution from him medicine, forget about other methods, but you have to target women at home. Women's lives are worthless, especially when you have achieved great things. You will kill them whenever you want. What do you think of women? The Ming Jiao acts in such extreme and ruthless ways, so I will naturally make you achieve nothing and be torn apart from now on. If there are others who can revolt in the future, that's all. If not, it's just that the Yuan dynasty Qi should not be exhausted, and it's only your fault that the Ming Jiao should not be together. This is a disaster. Fan Yao thought about many reasons, and even thought that Lily, this mysterious master, might be an old monster invited by the imperial court, but he never thought that she just didn't like his behavior of using Ruyang King's concubine to frame Lazank. That's it? For a moment, his chest was surging, and a mouthful of old blood almost spurted out. He was already seriously injured, and now his agitation made the injury worse. The remaining internal energy in his body was scurrying around. This was a sign of going crazy. Lily kicked his shoulder bones with her toes, directly destroying his pipa bones and abolishing his martial arts. Although he saved Fan Yao's life at this moment, the martial arts that he had practiced hard all his life were abolished like this. Fan Yao couldn't accept it. To be continued. Cannon Fodder Strategy. Author, Wan ERWR. Chapter 151. It would be fine if he had never practiced martial arts, but he had learned martial arts for decades, and now he was in vain. Fan Yao nodded weakly and said sullenly. Okay, Fan didn't do well in his studies today, and he will suffer this retribution. It's just that the future is long. Girls, You have to be more careful. The Mingjiao brothers were outnumbered. Even if he died alone, many more people would appear again. The killing was endless killing. Fan Yao tried his best to sit up straight, and began to recite, "Burn my broken body with the blazing holy fire. How joyful is life, and why is death painful? Do good to eliminate nausea, and only light, so joy and sorrow will all return to the dust." He recited the famous slogan of Ming Qiao, and his face gradually became much calmer. In Beihi's view, Ming Qiao is almost like a pyramid scheme organization. It mainly brainwashes people. Fan Yao can see that they are obviously among the group who have been deeply poisoned. Now after he finished reading the teachings, his face even he showed a look of despair. "There will indeed be holy fire that will burn your remains." Lily laughed, and Wang Baobao, the adopted son of King Ruyang, had already led people to surround Wan'an Temple and began to order a fire. This Wan'an Temple is made of bricks and wood. Once a fire is set up, it will burn very quickly. While Beihi was talking, a puff of smoke had already come up. Lezang called out, "No, the princess has a body of a daughter, so I hope you will get off the tower quickly." At this moment, a figure flew out like lightning. It was Zhang Wuji, who had rushed to Wanchao Temple before Zhao Min could wait in the tavern. Lily took a look out, smiled and said to Zhao Min, "Back when I was with the princess, Princess Meng took care of me for a long time. I wonder if the princess wants to get Master Zhang. Bring him to your side," she asked. Zhao Min showed hesitation on his face. Lily lifted Fan Yao, who was on the ground, and stood outside the tower. She saw that a fire had been lit under the tower. With the help of firewood and the wind blowing, it burned faster and it didn't take long. Kung Fu had already reached the second level, and she shook Fan Yao in her hand. He shouted crisply, "Zhang Wuji." She stood outside the tower in the firelight, her long hair flying in the wind, and her long skirt flowing freely. Zhang Wuji, who was surrounded by several monks from the western regions, subconsciously looked up at the tower and saw that Lily had already been shaken. Fan Yao caught it after saying that. He threw the person in his hand out. For such a high tower, Zhang Wuji had deep internal energy. He could see clearly that what Lily was holding was Fan Yao, the right envoy of the Ming cult of light. Seeing that he was thrown down from the tower, he didn't know why Fan Yao didn't use his internal energy, but at this moment he was very excited. It's anxious. As soon as he made a mistake in his steps, he picked up his energy and flew into the air of the tower. Zhang Wuji was originally surrounded by several Shaolin monks from the western regions. At this moment, he was eager to save people, and even managed to catch them after receiving several slaps. However, not to mention that he was injured, in fact, Lily had already used a secret force on her hands when she dropped Fan Yao, and Zhang Wuji caught him. Fan Yao fell rapidly. No matter how hard he tried to cheer up, it was of no avail. Finally, the two of them fell heavily to the ground. Zhang Wuji saw that Fan Yao was dying, so he did not dare to put him on the bottom, and finally fell down himself. Let Fan Yao fall on him. Although Zhang Wuji was highly skilled in martial arts, he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood at this moment. He had been seriously injured in that blow and now he couldn't even sit up. Everyone in the Ming cult gathered around them, and Xiao Zhao, who had a beautiful face, was among them. She had fallen in love with Zhang Wuji as early as when Zhang Wuji defended her in front of Yang Bui, and now she saw blood spurting from his mouth. With a face like gold paper, he couldn't help but rushed forward and called anxiously, "The leader! Xiao Zhao, why are you here?" Zhang Wuji was furious. His own Nine Yang manual was no more complete than what he had learned in the original plot. Although Lily wanted him to lead the Ming cult, she gave him he left behind most of the Nine Yang manual, but it was not the entire book after all. Although he got rid of the cold poison in his body after studying it, it was still weaker than in the original plot. Now, there are also Lily secretly played tricks on him. He fell from the tower and was already hit by the monks from the western regions. Now he was even more seriously injured. After saying this, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Yang Xiao and others looked anxious. Now Zhang Wuji was their hope. If something happened to Zhang Wuji at this time, the Mingjiao would not be able to save the people of the 6 major sects, but would suffer heavy losses. They are not very chivalrous people to begin with. People in the Ming cult just treat their own brothers. What can be saved is the 6 major sections. When the 6 major sects attacked Guangmingding, they killed countless brothers in the section. Now if they are for it might not be a good idea to save these people and make Zhang Wuji suffer damage here. Yang Xiao and others looked at each other and all said the same thing. The leader is seriously injured. Why don't we just leave today? I don't know about Fan Yushi now. Why don't we go back and discuss it and come to rescue another day? After today's incident, it can be imagined that the people in Ruyang Prince's mansion, the defense will definitely be stepped up next time, but it won't work this time. How can it be as smooth as this time when others are on guard? How easy is it to rescue the 6 major sects again? Even Yang Xiao, who spoke, knew that what he said was just empty words, so as soon as he finished speaking and saw that Zhang Wuji remained silent, they all fell silent. Not to mention people from the 6 major sects, apart from Zhou's Hiruo, there were also Wudain people in Wan'an Temple. Zhang Wuji refused to save others, but the Wudain people and Zhou's Hiruo from the Imei sect were bound to save him. He struggled. He stood up, vomited out a mouthful of bruised blood, and endured the severe pain in his chest. He said, Yang Zuoshi doesn't need to say more. No matter what happens today, my uncles must be saved. This matter is purely Zhang Wuji's fault, has nothing to do with Ming Qiao, and it doesn't matter whether he lives or lives, so please leave as soon as possible. Everyone was very sad after hearing what he said. Thinking of Zhang Wuji's single-handed effort to protect everyone's safety under the 6 major sects, Yang Xiao and others fell silent, but no one dared to mention retreating first. Fan Yao coughed twice. Although he had been seriously injured just now, Lily deliberately wanted to save his life. When he fell from the tower, he fell on Zhang Wuji again. Someone stepped on the bottom and his injury was actually not too serious. Just now, just because she fell from a high altitude, she lost her breath for a moment. Now she woke up and coughed twice. Leader, please leave with all the brothers in the sect first. There is a very dangerous person here. He said before he finished speaking. There was only a sound of clothes fluttering in the air. Everyone looked up and saw that Lily had jumped down from the tower, slowly walking down the stairs like an invisible staircase. Walked down from the air towards the ground. Yang Xiao and others took a deep breath. Even Wei Yuxiao's expression changed. He believed that he was good at Qinggong, but now he was surprised when he saw Lily showing such a move. It would have been impossible for him to do it. After being speechless for a long time, he said with trembling lips, I'm afraid the Zhangjian ladder in Wudain was built by Master Zhang, but it's nothing more than this. Lily happened to hear this when she came down and couldn't help laughing. She has practiced the 9 Yang manual so many times that practice makes perfect. The parts of the 9 Yang manual that may be incomprehensible to many people are as smooth and natural to her as breathing. She has already come into this world. In the 15th and 16th years of his life, he had practiced the 9 Yang manual for more than 5 years when he became an exterminator, and he was already on par with Zhang Sanfen. Now more than 10 years later, Zhang Sanfen has a profound cultivation level, but he is older after all. If we really want to talk about his opponents, I'm afraid Zhang Sanfen is not Lily's enemy. Master Zhang of the Ming cult, Yang Xiao, the left envoy of Guangming, Yin Tianzheng, the white-browed Eagle King, and others, this is the first time we meet, please give me some advice. Lily nodded to Zhang Wuji. As soon as she finished speaking, Xiao Zhao, whose face was a little red, said, however, but a monk, Zhou Dian and others were furious and couldn't help but sighed, what do you mean, you guys, I can change my name or my surname, but you, Grandpa Jodion. Huh, what a big breath, Wei Yuxiao wants to see this girl's clever tricks. Lily didn't expect that her unintentional words caused dissatisfaction among this group of people. She didn't mean to look down on Jodion and others, but compared to Zhangwuji, they really had nothing to value. That's it? Just when she was about to speak, Xiao Zhao didn't even care about Zhangwuji. He stepped forward, stared at Lily and said, "This girl looks very familiar. I wonder if I have seen her before." Seeing the astonishment in her eyes, Lily fell silent. She instinctively felt that something was wrong with Xiao Zhao's eyes, but she didn't think of anything for a while, as if she had forgotten something important. Something happened, but she couldn't seem to tell what it was. She smiled at Xiao Zhao and said, "Miss Xiao Zhao. Does the girl also know Xiao Zhao?" Xiao Zhao's eyes showed joy. Just as he was about to speak, Zhang Wuji seemed to have remembered something and pulled her back. "Xiao Zhao, you are in danger." "Who are you? Did you cause Fan Yushi's injury?" Wei Yuxiao, who was wearing a green shirt and asked with a gloomy face, gave him a creepy feeling when Lily's eyes fell on him. As if he was being targeted by some extremely dangerous beast, he had some killing intent in his heart. He was about to take the lead and catch Lily before interrogating her. Unexpectedly, as soon as his body moved, he stretched out his hand before he could catch her. When he reached Lily, with a happy smile on his face, Lily kicked him. Wei Yuxiao watched this kick very slowly. He had clearly seen Lily's movements, but his body seemed to be unable to dodge suddenly. He was hit hard on the chest, as if a huge force had hit him. Before the excruciating pain entered his mind, Wei Yuxiao couldn't control himself and began to fly back, hitting several Ming cult brothers along the way. Even the cult leader Zhang Wuji, who came to pick him up, was forced to retreat for about 7 weeks. 8 Zhang Wuji shouted loudly. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and by luck, the two of them managed to stand firm. To be continued. P.S. 4th update. 4. Bubble, Dear He Shivi +1 update.